Today on Doomed! Another wonderful week in news and politics right here in the good old US of A this week, everybody. We got wonderful things happening, like obviously the media rightfully focusing on what truly matters in the world right now, and that is, of course, what's happening at elite colleges and universities like Harvard. And not specifically even what's happening among students and faculty, for example, but what the billionaire donors think of the people running Harvard. That's, the important stuff, right? Also, we got things going on in our world of news, in tech, in our world of cameos and Twitch streams and much, much more. And why am I still talking and not pulling this up on the screen? I'm completely out of it right now. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me for this episode to talk about this week is Rayyvana of the wonderful Twitch stream of her own. I'm really overusing the word wonderful today. Everything is wonderful.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
I'm getting in the Christmas spirit, maybe. It's a wonderful life, right? And of course of TYT. And what else do you do nowadays? You have the show that runs at the same time as Leftist Mafia, which of course everyone catches after watching Leftist Mafia.
Right. Or before, Yeah.
Oh, does it start before us?
No, it's maybe they watch our show, then they go back and they watch your show. No, but
maybe.
Yeah, it's down from the internet. We have a wonderful time.
You could imagine a scenario where that happens, I guess, if that's what you'd like to imagine.
No, usually the chat is like, oh, I would love to stick around, but Leftist Mafia just started, so I'll come back and watch you guys later, which is fine, and I understand it.
Maybe some of those people should tune into your show one week, and I think they should continue watching. No, Rayyvana, it's great to have you on. I always love when you come on because we always have, so much fun talking about what a doomed, world we live in, really. And that's all we can really ask for, right? I mean, we can't, we do our best to take things in and do, whatever small effect we can put out, or whatever small sort of change we can throw out there. We try our darndest, but at the end of the day, we could only help people understand and listen and I guess commiserate in our misery together.
Right.
Have a
they
shoulder
say
to cry on.
They say laughter is the best medicine, and I don't have health insurance, so that's my only medicine. So I've got to find the humor in everything now.
Wait, so you don't even have health insurance, aren't you?
Nope.
Wait, you're under 26, aren't you?
No, I just turned 26.
So that's why you don't have health insurance anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Graduated out, I fear.
Okay, now you got one of those. Gotta get one like what is it, like the bronze Obamacare plan or something, whatever.
Whatever's below bronze. If there's like an Obamacare dirt plan, that's the one that I should be on.
It's the Obamacare rock plan, where literally you the Stone Age plan.
Ugh. Yeah, no, it's not fun, but there's lots of good things to laugh at in the news this week. Ignoring all of the horrible things that make me want to cry that are also in the news this week.
Right. I thought the main thing I wanted to, well, not really the main thing, but the first thing I should say, because this is definitely not the main thing, but the first thing I wanted to talk about, imagine this was the main thing though. What a horrible episode of this show that would be. But the first thing I wanted to talk about are these George Santos cameos and how angry it makes me.
Yeah.
Now, I don't care what this guy does. He's obviously, for people who need a quick update, George Santos was a Republican from Long Island who was elected to the House in the last election. and it quickly came out that he was a scam artist, a long-time scammer with a long-time history of doing various scams and grifts. It finally came around to him, and an investigation into his campaign finances found that he spent donor money on things like lavish vacations for him and his boyfriend and Botox. I mean, it's always good when you steal money to directly inject it into your face so everybody can see your stolen money when they look at you first thing. It's always, a great idea. But so he was expelled. He's no longer a member of Congress. So he did what every good scammer does. They immediately find a new grift. And Cameo was his, and people are paying him hundreds of dollars for cameos. Now, cameos are those that website where you can go on and find celebrities, mostly like internet celebrities, but there are some like real celebs on there, I guess. But it's athletes and stuff like that, and you pay them money to record whatever you ask them to, pretty much. And usually it's for like, my son or my dad is a big fan of this, Z-list actor on Cameo. Here's $50, $100, whatever they ask for. Record them a happy birthday, record my family member a happy birthday message. So George Santos jumps on there, and he's doing that now. And whatever. He's not a member of Congress. He's can go on there if he wants. His customer base should be Republicans, MAGA people, the people who like him. He's a Republican, remember. And a full-blown, Donald Trump is the best MAGA Republican type. Well, it seems like he's making a ton of money on there. From what I read, he's now making more money already on Cameo than he did as a member of Congress. You saw that, right?
Yeah, he's cleaning up. He's cleaning up on Cameo in a way that Judge Janine during COVID never could. Although I was rooting for her. Her wind-up cameos were giving me life for a good period of time.
I mean, these right-wingers, like you just mentioned, they have to, Judge Janine, they have to know they are, a joke. Because, why else would anyone want to buy a cameo from these people? This isn't like, we have bought in this household a single cameo. And it's because my son is a huge fan of this video game YouTuber, Zach Scott. He's not a kids YouTuber, but he's a clean YouTuber. He isn't cursed, but he plays there's some games we don't that he plays that we don't let my son watch, but he mostly plays Mario and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And my son's a big fan of his, so one year for his birthday, we just got him a cameo where Zach Scott wishes him a happy birthday.
Oh,
nothing wrong. It was
that's sweet. That's nice. $50.
Harmless. That's what cameos are for. Things like that. Yeah, my son thought it was great. Oh, his favorite YouTuber knows his name. He had no idea what a cameo is, my son. He doesn't know that we paid this guy to read whatever we sent him. But then they do add a little bit of their own thing to it. And the guy, we told the guy that my son was a fan of his, so he made it special for my son, and those things are nice.
Yeah.
So if you're a Republican and you go on and you want to pay these people, who am I to judge? We all have our own things or whatever. What I have a problem here is that George Santos is definitely not cleaning house, at least just not cleaning house with money from Republicans.
Right.
There is a entire customer base for George Santos among liberals and Democrats and whatever you want to call yourself, who are paying him money for these things. And not only just I am a person who votes Democrat. It's whatever. You can't control regular, ordinary people and what they do with their money, even if they're funding someone who voted against things that they believe in when he was in Congress. But actual sitting members of Congress who are Democrats, like John Fetterman, and he's not the only one, are giving George Santos money to shoot silly little cameos for their campaign to try to make themselves look good. It is unbelievable. I
It's
don't know what else to say.
amazing. It's amazing to me, particularly because the Fetterman, his office bought that cameo to have George Santos tell Bob Menendez that he needs to, stick it out. Essentially, it was supposed to be a joke. Like, George Santos was removed from Congress. Fetterman was one of the first senators to call for Bob Menendez to step down. Obviously, he hasn't yet. Also going through his own his own financial investigations and issues and indictments and whatnot. But, it's so ironic to be like, Bob Menendez, you need to resign, and then give money to someone who was just removed from Congress for financial crimes. I mean, but and my issues with people buying the cameos, particularly people on the left, obviously I hate that John Fetterman did it, but my position is, this is a guy who is deeply transphobic, George Santos. As interesting as a character as he is, I love George Santos as an enigma to me and as a gay archetype. I think that he's fascinating.
Right. And you could like enjoy, I'm not saying you can't enjoy
Right.
the ridiculous, and you know this, I'm talking to the audience. I'm not saying you can't enjoy like the character that is George Santos. There's a ton of Republicans I enjoy. I enjoy watching Alex Jones sometimes because he's fucking insane and crazy. But I would never give him money, fund him, promote him in any way, shape, or form. Like, you could easily enjoy George Santos is ridiculous. Even like clip a video you see of his where he says something stupid and be like, look at this fucking dunce, and share that for people to laugh at. But you don't have to give him money. You don't gotta give these guys money.
Right.
I get it. We live in a world where this stuff goes viral, this stuff goes out there. You're gonna come across content from people you despise and hate. And listen, everyone's human, so they're gonna have their moments where even someone you despise and hate are gonna be in a clip, and you're gonna be like, you know what? They're coming across as a human being in this clip. There's something likable in this moment of that individual. But you don't have to financially support them. Like,
Right.
It's just like, what are you doing?
Right. Like, I have to watch a lot of, and I'm sure you do as well. We have to watch a lot of right-wing media for our jobs, but I don't then subscribe to the Patreons of those like right-wing YouTubers who I like hate watch their stuff to get content out of, like I covered Andrew Tate a lot. I didn't sign up for Hustlers University when I was covering Andrew Tate. And, it's silly to me. I mean, especially right now with the ongoing genocide in Gaza and George Santos being essentially the congressperson representing the District of Israel. He was so wholeheartedly pro-Israel, still is. And it's like, now in this moment, you're going to be giving this guy money, this guy who's like completely backing, I mean, and maybe in the hopes of getting a pardon if Donald Trump wins the president. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But, he's wholeheartedly backing Trump. And at a time where
it's funny you mentioned the Andrew Tate thing, because even that, I think, wouldn't be as bad as the George Santos thing. Because at least if you're covering Andrew Tate and you need access to what he's putting out there, and the only way to get access, you can't find any other way but to just sign up for a trial or a month. You don't got to get like the platinum year-long annual plan. But if you got to get that content to cover as an act of journalism, then yeah, I think that's fine to do that. Obviously, if you've exhausted every other avenue, you got to do what you got to do to cover it. Mm-hmm. I would say the same if George Santos had something when you needed to cover, and that required, a monetary component to access that material to cover as a journalist.
Right.
But buying a cameo from him doesn't fall under that category.
Right. Like if the cameos were behind a paywall and you wanted to see, I guess, to cover the types of content he's putting out there, maybe that would be a scenario where I could understand. But like just paying him to say that I don't know, Sneeko is gay is not like, come on, you're just giving him, and now it's like $500.
That's the one Fetterman paid for, right? No.
That would be crazy. I wouldn't rethink my position on John Fetterman because of that, but it would give me pause.
Right. Yeah, it's completely. We could go down that route of conversation too about how John Fetterman is completely
Yeah.
done. But yeah, I think I've discussed it on this show. But like, listen, there's obviously members of Congress, a whole lot of them, the vast majority, that support Israel.
Hmm.
And you could be disappointed for sure in certain members of Congress too, who are choosing to not only just support Israel, but like decisively support them, decisively support what they are doing in this moment. But John Fetterman takes it to a whole new level, which isn't even like, he's a member of Congress. This is what we expect of them. This is beyond that even. Like, he is like openly like flaunting it to the point of like just like almost mocking people who are
Literally
being
mocking people.
literally what am I? Yeah, you're right. Literally mocking people in ways that I've been seeing, like even like members of like some Republicans have done. Like he's even beyond that. Like he's in that same category to me as that Republican who said on national television that we're going to turn Gaza into a parking lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been really, who's that? Max Miller? Maybe that's his name.
That was who it was. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been truly despicable to watch, especially because, when John Fetterman had his stroke, I thought that the way that he addressed it in the aftermath was really good for the disability community, because he was, giving a platform to issues like reasonable accommodations that I felt like don't often get heard, especially in such a, they don't get national attention like that, and the struggles of getting those accommodations. And then he became a senator, and never really did anything I found to be that impressive. And I'm not someone who's like, oh, I stan AOC or I stan any politician. Like I think that there are politicians that are better than others, but I just don't get that invested in them, because I don't necessarily see them as like beacons of hope, because I understand the game that they have to play of Washington.
Right.
I've worked there, I get what happens there, so I just don't hold out that hope necessarily for them. But and so when I see a politician being a little cagey on their stance on Israel, someone who maybe during their campaign was more forthright that they support the Palestinian people, who's now maybe a little withheld on that when they're asked about it, I understand what's going on behind the scenes. With Fetterman, it's like, you don't need to do any of this. Like, there's no reasonable explanation for hanging up the posters of all of the hostages inside and outside of your office. I mean, and like posting fucking memes on Twitter about people not protesting rape. I mean, it's grotesque.
That was the most disgusting, one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen shared, let alone shared by a sitting U.S. senator. He literally Drake memed rape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what, like, that wasn't like just demeaning to like people involved in in Gaza, or even like victims of the families in Israel from October 7th. It was like just also demeaning to like rape victims.
Right.
Overall, he like, for someone who was apparently trying to make a point about how no one was taking these rape allegations on October 7th seriously, one surefire way to show that you too take it seriously is obviously to turn it into a meme, a Drake meme.
A fucking Drake meme. Drake, who's called for a ceasefire, incidentally. But it's particularly gross at a time where Israel, the IDF, is like, hey, we got to tone it down with these, insinuations, the United States of America, that the hostages are getting raped. The IDF told the U.S. government to tone down their language around that, because, which is, not to say that they aren't also perpetuating those stories that they have. The interviews with witnesses is the evidence that they presented that there was sexual assault. I'm not trying to say that it didn't happen, just that I'd like to see more evidence. But they're literally saying, like, the And the Biden administration, as well as John Fetterman, has heavily insinuated that Hamas hasn't given up these hostages because they're the female hostages because they're using them, just to rape them. The IDF, if the IDF is like, hey man, that's kind of an egregious lie, maybe tone it down a little bit. Like, I think it's time to do some introspection on the messaging campaign that you're running about what's going on there. I mean, it's like, super grotesque just to the women constituents of John Fetterman, the victims of sexual violence. It's like, you don't care about sexual violence. You're using it as like a sick gotcha moment on X.com.
Right. And now he's out there also going on about how Democrats, it's not xenophobic to care about the border, and that he was like the first Democrat. He was the first Democrat to sort of open his mouth and make it clear that the Democrats are going to go down that path. And then, of course, the White House introduces what I'm seeing being called the most basically hardline immigration laws in the past 30 years, which means like this whole thing, let's frame it this way. We are told time and time again that Joe Biden has to win next year to stop Donald Trump. But little by little, Democrats are showing they're not so different than the Republicans and Donald Trump.
Right.
Like, yes, I know they are not the exact same, but when you have the same position as Donald Trump on what's going on in Gaza, which without a doubt, there's no red line, there's no limit. Fund them without any, in basically with infinite funds.
Right.
And then now with this, going back to basically the same rules and laws at the border that sort of lit the fire under Democrats for the past for Trump's entire his entire presidency, basically. Kids in cages we heard about nonstop, and now they're going that route. I mean, what are they thinking? Like, what are you going to do that defines you as different from Trump? Because I'm seeing them go have less and less to show for it.
Yeah, it's like mortifying because I worked in immigration law during the tail end of the Trump administration and the beginning of the Biden administration. And maybe I was young and overly optimistic at the time. I was less jaded than I am now. But I did expect there to be some reforms. And during the time I was working in immigration law, there was jack shit between Trump and Biden at the beginning of Biden's administration. There's been some changes more recently, but nothing monumental, which is why it's so difficult for me to listen to right-wingers, screech about how the borders are open, knowing the reality of the situation there, knowing the reality that the asylum seekers face when they come here, which is just so completely the opposite of what they're, portraying it to be. But at this point, I wasn't expecting Biden to do anything meaningful, in immigration. It doesn't necessarily surprise me what he's willing to do, but the timing surprises me because we're right before an election where you have to differentiate yourself from Donald Trump. And the way you're planning on doing that is by becoming exactly like him in your positions on immigration. Literally, you mentioned kids in cages. It's forcible detentions, which violates international law, which violates human rights law for asylum seekers. They're coming here, quote unquote, the right way. These are people who are using the legal process of seeking asylum, and you're literally forcing them to go to jails, to detention centers, again, in violation of international law, of human rights law. It's mortifying. It's very scary, especially like considering the political decisions behind this, right? Because he's doing it to get past, to get through Congress, the $100 billion in defense spending to go towards Israel and to go towards Ukraine. And it's like, and I like I said, I didn't expect Joe Biden to be particularly good on immigration once I saw the reality of the situation. But I don't know if he was willing to play this card. It's crazy that this is the moment where, and I don't think he should ever play this card. Be willing to sell out migrants to this country. It's sickening. But like, he didn't do this to pass paid family leave. He didn't do this to reauthorize, the child tax credit. He didn't do this to increase minimum wage. He didn't even do this to pass the policy that was like the fundamental aspect of his campaign, which was the Build Back Better, that version of the infrastructure bill, not the bipartisan one, but the actual true Build Back Better infrastructure bill. He didn't leverage this to get that part of his agenda across. It's to give weapons and money to Ukraine and Israel.
Right. Listen, I don't know like what the thought process. I have a thought process is here. I should finish my thought for a second. But also like, first of all, with Israel, it's like, well, first of all, they're already sending like bypassing Congress to get Israel what it needs. So the fact that they want to get even more that does need to go through Congress is just like astounding to me. But when it comes to Ukraine as well, I've been someone who I've gone back and forth with some people. I've been supportive of the U.S.'s support for Ukraine, because much like I am against what Israel is doing in Gaza, I view that as not quite. It's not the exact same thing, obviously. The Palestinians have it much different and worse. But I am against the Russian invasion of Ukraine. I'm against the imperialism of Russia. I'm against, what Russia's doing to people who did not ask for this. Right. Have nothing to do with whatever situation Russia feels they need to do this for. I know, Putin's been all over the place in terms of why he's doing it. But then I'm like hearing this stuff about how, Ukraine is going to, force men over a certain age.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point to join the army. And at that point, I'm like, hold on. Like, I had a different feeling about this when, Ukrainians were fighting for their country, and they wanted to. Mm-hmm. Like, I felt like, who the hell are we to say, like, you must give up, you must, Americans would never accept that if someone invaded.
No.
Like, can you imagine like conservatives being like, no, we must do peace, so let's give the invading country that's in the U.S., let's give them Florida or whatever. They would never. So if Ukrainians wanted to fight for their country, I said we should support them, because they're the ones who are right in this situation. A rare occasion where the U.S. is on the right side in a conflict. Very rare. Right. Once it happens once in a lifetime. But now that I'm hearing some of this stuff, I can't. I mean, that's no longer people. Listen, if there's still Ukrainians who want to fight? Yeah, but if we're gonna fund it, we got to be like, you cannot do that. I don't want to force anybody to fucking go to their fight to their death. Yeah. That's not good.
Right. And I mean, you're like exactly right about the Americans would never fucking accept that, because I mean, we still have the draft in place, but it's everyone knows it's never going to be used ever again, essentially. And it's so funny whenever conservatives are like, oh, women want equal rights, then you have to sign up for the draft. Like, okay, I will sign up for this thing that's never going to be used. That's fine by me. But I'll just say I have a friend whose cousin, she's from Ukraine. Her cousin's been fighting in the Donbas region from even before the start of the war, because there's been conflict there for a long time.
Yeah, since was it Euromaiden, and is that what it was called? I think in 2014. It's been a while since I had to bring that up. Yeah, he's been fighting there for years and years, and like I can support someone who totally has devoted, willing to risk their life for this cause. They want to fight for their country, but you're right. There's just such a difference when it's like we need to conscript all men. I believe it's over the age of or below the age of 40.
over the age of 40.
I wasn't sure. I think it's over the age of 40.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because you're basically asking for bodies to send out there. Like
it's
these
sick.
are people who are not going to be able to. Yeah, I mean, and listen, I understand their situation in terms of, you know, this has been going on and they've probably faced a lot of casualties, obviously. And I've heard from apparently, like, this is just what we're hearing from the U.S. Intelligence that I've been reading, is that Russia has also lost a ton of their soldiers, and it's been high casualties on both sides. But I mean, listen, I'm not saying we abandon them, but I'm saying we gotta, we have. That's the thing. Like the U.S. is so powerful. Like the idea that we can't be like, Netanyahu, cut this out, like, enough.
When Joe Biden did it in 2021, he did exactly that in 2021, and they fucking stopped their siege of Gaza at that time.
So like we have the power here. We can say, listen, we'll fund this because we agree with this, but you can't do that.
Right.
And listen, I even was someone who was like, listen, the certain military groups inside of Ukraine's army who clearly are neo-Nazis. I'm not supportive of that, but obviously I think the U.S. should tie some sort of, again, strings to that as well when it came to funding. But I didn't say that the Ukraine needed to deal with that at that very moment, because obviously you're not going to tell these guys fighting on the front lines that, hey, you can't fight anymore. They're just going to fight anyway. Right. Who cares? But like when this is done, those guys got to go. Like they can't be in your military. That's what I think. But this is even further than this. You can't send those people out there. You can't force them to go out there.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And it's just like, just to tie that, to Israel as well. I kept they kept leaking to the media intentionally, the Biden administration, this idea that the Biden administration feels that they can't control the actions of Netanyahu and of Israel, which is funny reading it, when Israel is fucking a client state of the United States, essentially, is what it is. The idea that the United States has no leverage that they can hold over Netanyahu or, the IDF is fucking absurd. So just reading that and knowing, like, okay, so the State Department is trying to get better coverage. They're trying to soften their role in this genocide is what it is, not a conflict. But, despite the fact that they're spokespeople just keep going out and saying some of the most heinous and cruel things I could ever fucking imagine. I mean, to go out there and say, for Kirby to say, who's doing more for the people of Gaza, the humanitarian aid in Gaza, than the United States. It's like if I shot you in the leg and then, wrapped your wound and said, who's doing more to treat the gunshot wound than me, than Rayyvana? Nobody, despite the fact that I fucking shot you in the first place. Like, it's just sick. And, they have a lot more power than they like to pretend they have. And as I mentioned, Biden literally stopped a siege of Gaza in 2021. That's been reported. We know that that's what happened. He could do it again now. It's so silly. It's all so silly. But yeah, they absolutely should tie any money going to Ukraine, weapons going to Ukraine, to making, if those reports are accurate, ensuring that type of conscription doesn't happen, because it's fucked up. These right. The people shouldn't be forced to fight.
If you're like 50 years old, 60 years old, and you want to do it, then fine.
Right.
Who am I? But you can't force these people. You can't force grandpa to go fight on the front line. Right. I'm sorry. I mean, I think it's messed up to do it with younger people, but at least younger people have a fighting chance.
Right.
You're basically going to be sending out, these 60-year-olds to their death.
All right.
I mean, yeah. But it is incredible that like the real problem in Congress, at least with the congressional members who are mostly Republican, obviously, who don't want to fund this bill. Their issue is mostly with the Ukrainian side. Like they're fine with giving money for genocide, but they are not fine with giving money to the U.S. ally who is fighting an invader, an imperialist invader, like who's trying to just take over their country.
I I mean, it's so crazy because like some of them, I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene might, fight to send money to Russia. I don't know, to support their efforts in this. And it's funny to see them use like the denazification argument, right? I'm like, you're a Nazi. You support that agenda. I don't know why the fuck you think that. You have people who support you also support Nazism. I don't understand the argument we're making here, folks. But yeah. But in summation, don't give money to George Santos.
Right. But I mean, I'm glad we talked about this other stuff too, because it's and it's a good segue actually to our right. Don't give money to George Santos, but it's also a good segue into the story that has taken the media by storm this week. The most important thing going on in the world right now. The president of Harvard won't step down because she sloppily defended students' rights to free speech on their college campus. I mean, it is unbelievable. I mean, what's her name again? Elise
Yes,
Stefanik,
right?
Yeah. Her grilling of those three elite Ivy League school presidents was so disingenuous. And then the tying of the word intifada to genocide. And the idea that we are arguing, or they were arguing about this word meaning the genocide of Jewish people, and that this is something that is actually being called for on college campus, which is not.
Right.
While there is something like 18,000 people being slaughtered in Gaza, the vast majority women and children, is like the most mind-numbing thing imaginable this week.
Yeah.
And every newspaper, every cable news channel has been running with the college president story above everything else. It's ludicrous.
Yeah, I've never given a singular fuck about who the president of Harvard or any other, Ivy League institution is, but it's so crazy to me right now because essentially, these free speech Republicans had to sit there and admit that they don't support free speech because the position of, and you're right, it was sloppy the way that they defended this, but the position of most of these college presidents was, we've adopted the legal precedent for what is free speech as our standard here at our school. Because, particularly private institutions and even public universities, they don't have to follow the strict standards of free speech. There's some caveats and, even more caveats if they were, high school, middle school, elementary schools, but they have some leeway with what they can do with free speech. Particularly the private institutions have a lot more leeway, but they're saying, no, we've adopted the same standard for free speech on our campuses as the legal precedent that's been set in courts, in federal courts. So unless there was an imminent threat of harm to the students on our campus, we would not expel someone for saying things like intifada, which is clearly not a call for genocide, I'll say, or from the river to the sea. The idea that somehow, I mean, I'll say they weren't very eloquent in the way that they articulated this. Right, it
would have been super easy for them just to say, yes, calling for the genocide of Jewish people is against our rules on the college campus. We do not allow that. However, it has not happened because that's not what's going on. That would have been that simple. It would have been very simple. That's not what protesters, pro-Palestine protesters and activists are calling for because they don't even said those words. Mm-hmm. But they dropped the ball. And by dropping the ball, they sort of opened themselves up to this. And the president of Penn State stepped down. And again, I don't care about these schools. In fact, the world would probably be a better place if they just ceased to exist. But I think it sets a dangerous precedent for these university leaders to kowtow to right-wing framing and billionaire donors. A lot of these funders and donors to these schools are right wingers, or like those weird tech liberals who basically want to control what's being said on college campuses to just reflect their worldview perfectly, even if they do think like gay marriage is okay because they like to give it out to give it up for like the most basic like human rights and like social justice beliefs. But at the end of the day, they're anti liberal values, or whatever you want to say, progressive values. I think that sets a dangerous precedent. So I don't think that these presidents should step down. And that's not because I like them. I just don't think they should fall for right-wing framing and give them the win.
It's like crazy to me, I went to what's considered, a pretty liberal institution, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, despite being in the middle of a cornfield in Illinois. It's pretty liberal school. I had a lot of communist professors in history. All of my poli-sci professors were neolibs, but I had a Palestinian friend, and I was admittedly pretty ignorant at the time of the occupation of Israel, but I had a Palestinian friend in one of my classes, and she was like, "Ray, we're doing a protest. I'd like it if you could come out and support us." And I was like, "Absolutely, I'll come." Also, the chat is roasting the door behind me. Shut the fuck up. Yes, it is a Chicago rental door. I live in a Chicago rental. You've got
What
me.
happened? What's wrong with the door behind you?
They're just saying that it's like visibly a Chicago rental door.
Oh, I've actually never been to Chicago, so I don't know what a Chicago rental door looks like.
Apparently, it's the door behind me.
Right.
So.
It's cupboard-esque. Is that what they're trying to say?
But I was saying, so I went to this protest, and it was very calm. They were just, repeating chants, whatever, slogans outside of our student center. And then a Israel Campus Coalition, who some people might know that name as the student group that has ties to Mossad and spies on Palestinian student groups, is this, that historically they've done that. So they came and they started assaulting the pro-Palestinian protesters, literally screaming at them, putting hands on them. And I was shocked at what I was seeing there, but I was more shocked. Again, I was kind of ignorant at this time of the way things work in this world. The next day, my school had put out a statement, admonishing the Palestinian protesters who were assaulted that day. I was like, I couldn't understand it. I saw with my own eyes what happened that day. And then to wake up and to read a totally different version of events from my school's press release, I was like shocked. So this right wing, you're right, they're falling into this right wing framing that there is some strong protections for, one, Palestinian students, but also just pro-Palestinian students in general on these college campuses, that they're getting some sort of preferential treatment, is fucking bullshit. They're not being funded by lobbies. I'm sorry. A lot of the pro-Israel student groups they receive large donations from individuals, but also from organizations. In some cases they have ties to the Israeli government, which is fine. But the Palestinian student groups don't have that same sort of wealth or those connections, and they're not protected in the same institutional level in any way, shape, or form that the pro-Israel, the Zionist student groups are.
Right. It is ludicrous to even argue that the safe position to hold is to be vocally pro-Palestine.
Yes.
It is. I will say it's probably never been more okay, but at the same time, the acceptableness of being vocally pro-Palestine in the U.S. has historically been like on the floor. Like if you spoke out
right
in favor of Palestine, and Palestinians, there is no position I could think of that would get you more retribution or consequences in your life, especially in your professional career, than holding that position. People have lost jobs just for criticizing Israel in favor of the Palestinians. It's not a safe position to hold. And no, I'm not even like talking about like those individuals who cross over into actually saying something inappropriate, or the for example, people who use the Palestinian cause to we see this online a lot with like the Twitter white supremacists and the Jackson Hinkles, where they use the Palestinian cause to launder their anti-Semitism. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about legitimate care for Palestinians, and criticism of the government of Israel has been the most like potentially problematic position you could hold if you're vocal about it in this country. And the idea that like these schools are stepping up in favor of pro-Palestine protests is ludicrous.
I mean, that was Barry Weiss's whole thing, right? Was trying to get professors fired for even like the most moderately pro-Palestine statements. Right. And there was in the reframing of this issue as if right-wing individuals are under attack is so funny. Because, I mean, the Heritage Foundation of all sources did a study on in academia, are liberal, or left-wing professors more likely to get fired than right-wing professors. They were hoping, obviously, that the results would show that professors were fired more often for making right-wing statements, but the exact opposite was proven true. And if you look into the statements that were classified as left-wing statements that got those professors fired, almost all of them were making pro-Palestine statements. There was a huge bias in that way, that in the Heritage Foundation, in all of their underhanded tricks, whatever they'll try to do to reframe the issue, had to fucking admit, professors are more likely to lose their jobs for making what we consider to be left-wing statements than right-wing statements. So, it's so funny, especially to see someone like Barry Weiss right now playing the victim, pretending that the people who support Israel are the victims, when she did a whole fucking get professors fired speed run.
Right, that was the whole deal, right? And like even now, as it is getting slightly better, again, bar was low on the floor, slightly more acceptable now because just more people are speaking out in favor of the Palestinians, that like just the way the wind is blowing, you can't stop it. Even now though, like the bar for what is considered to be problematic support for Palestine or the Palestinians is rising too. Like it's more acceptable, slightly more acceptable to be pro-Palestine, vocally pro-Palestine, but also the amount of things that could get you in trouble is also widening. Like, you can't say, like, intifada, like we're talking about. An Arabic word for uprising. You can't say from the river to the sea.
You can't say martyrs.
Can't say martyrs. Martyrs. Which, to me, that one is super ludicrous because it doesn't even make sense from the standpoint of Western peoples, because I'm throwing Europe in here too, obviously. The West's view, their xenophobic view of what the word martyrs means.
Yeah.
Even in the West, in the US and Europe, martyrs for them is tied to terrorists who die, but it's usually specifically tied to suicide bombing.
Yeah.
And there were no suicide bombers on October 7th.
Nope.
So even by their own xenophobic definition, it doesn't even make sense, but still that's what they're going with.
No, I mean, I feel bad.
But to me, not to interrupt you, I really want to get this one in here because this one to me is obviously the most disgusting. We are also now seeing just people wearing the Palestinian scarf, the keffiyeh. Excuse me if I'm saying it wrong. And then I've also seen people say just flying the Palestinian flag
Yeah.
is the equivalent to supporting terrorism or being anti-Semitic or something. Those two are the most ludicrous, because those are culturally, I mean, they all sort of are, but those specifically are culturally sort of emblematic of any culture's sort of showing of support. Every culture, every country, every people have a flag or an item that they specifically connect with that people usually tie directly to them. And those are the two things for Palestinians. And if you tell them they can't use that, then like, what do they have? Like they have so little to begin with, and you're taking those two things away from them too.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because there's a woman here in Chicago who lives in Logan Square who's being evicted for flying the Palestinian flag, or for hanging it in the window of her apartment. And it's important to note, she's fucking Palestinian. She's Palestinian American. She's always had that flag in her window, and she's being evicted for it now, which is a clear, violation of federal housing law, discrimination law. It's a clear violation of our specific, regulations here in Chicago, the protections we have. I worked in a housing law, just to add some context to that, for the last 3 years. I mean, it's clearly fucking national origin racist discrimination in this case. But at the end of the day, she's going to have this against her. She's going to, even if she, which I believe she will beat the eviction, she's going to have the fucking eviction filed against her, and she's going to have to spend money to get that erased, because even if you beat it, having it filed against you can prevent you from getting housing in the future. And she's obviously going to want to move at the end of this, because she's not going to want to remain in that house with that landlord who, she has shown her that he's racist against her. It's fucking despicable. Or there was the little manlet who was running around the halls of Congress and covered Rashida Tlaib's Palestinian flag with an Israeli flag. I mean, she's fucking Palestinian. That flag has always been outside her office. It's just racism. It's fucking racism.
And you know what? I find the desecration of the Palestinian flag, honestly, I find that to be like the worst of all, because like with other countries, you can at least say you're disrespecting that, or showing your first of all, I'm American, obviously, so if I want to burn an American flag, that's within my right, because I'm an American. But but if someone was to like someone outside the U.S. was to stomp on a U.S. flag, I don't care. The U.S. government, you have every right to be against the U.S. government. But to me, the Palestinian flag, because of their specific situation, that most directly represents the Palestinian people, not really a country or a government, which they don't really have. They have no, like people always say, like, they elected Hamas. Okay, well, I mean, like, what power did Hamas even really have other than like Hamas is the equivalent to, like, I guess, like, the mayor? It's not like a government. Like, they don't have, like, Israel is their government, because Israel is what actually decides what comes in, what goes out, what's actually done on the world stage, and how Gaza is able to even interact with other countries. Mm-hmm. It's completely controlled. If they want to leave, they got to go through Israel. Like, it's so to me, I think that was super disgusting. And I know the guy you're talking about, he framed it in his video as, oh, I put the hostage posters up on Rashida Tlaib's wall, like on her door, and she had the audacity to take it down. Number one, he never says anything about what he does to her flag. That's later on in the video. He doesn't mention that. And number two, listen, if you're using those posters to torment people, then clearly you don't care about the hostages either. They're even more disgusting. You're just using them for whatever petty grievances you have with someone else. Like, that's not how you use those posters. Like, I'm actually against people tearing those posters down. I think it's stupid. Well, if someone puts them up, leave them up. Who gives a shit? If it makes someone feel better, fine. If you don't like it, just walk a foot away from the poster, like just walk past it. But I've also seen people use those posters to antagonize people. Like, there was a case where the posters were literally put in front of a Palestinian restaurant just in front of a Palestinian restaurant in New York City. I mean, that's obviously, there's a purpose to that, obviously. Yeah. Like, there's a point then. It's not to help raise awareness for those posters. No, it's to attack Palestinian people. Like, put your posters up, please. I mean, to me, I view them as a great emblem to show the failure of Netanyahu's government, because those poor innocent people are still over there because Netanyahu doesn't care enough about them, doesn't care about them more than he does himself to help get them out of there.
Yeah, I mean, it's infuriating. I think that's a good point about the posters. I'll just say, I live in a predominantly Muslim neighborhood. I live like a block from the Muslim American Community Center here. My partner is Muslim. Their entire family is Muslim. And I think that people have really been downplaying the anti-Muslim, Islamophobic, and just purely racist aspect of this, and they're willing to dance around it. But like, people, I am a public figure, and when I talk about this conflict, of course I get the odd, "Oh, do you condemn Hamas?" comment, whatever. But I mean, my partner is not a public figure whatsoever, and just in conversations, they've been asked to condemn Hamas significantly more than I am, and it's because they're brown and I'm not. And it's like, there is so much of racism built into this. It's and of course Islamophobia. And it's like weird to say this, but the Biden administration has done even less to address the rampant Islamophobia in this country than even the Bush administration did. I mean, at least George W. Bush was willing to go meet with some imams and some Muslim community leaders. Joe Biden sent his his secretary of fucking, his deputy administrator of small businesses to the funeral of the 6-year-old Palestinian American boy who was murdered here in Chicago and stabbed fucking 26 times. He couldn't come. He didn't call the family until 2 weeks after the child was murdered. He's done less than George W. Bush to address country, and it's so odd to say that, but it's fucking true.
No, I mean, George Bush at least cared about how it looked. Like, he wanted, he visibly obviously he was behind the mass casualties overseas in Afghanistan and Iraq. But here in the States, he cared about how it looked to be meeting with them. Joe Biden doesn't even care about that. Like, it is ridiculous. You're right. He's met with them like once, and he said like, "Oh, I shouldn't have, questioned how many people died in Gaza," and then he never said anything publicly about it, though. No. Never said anything publicly about it.
Closed door meeting. Good job, Joe Biden.
Right. I mean, it's honestly really disgusting. It's really disgusting. And you know what? I think the worst part about it is, like, the more I think about it, like, how many of the people who are supporting what's going on right now here in the U.S., how many people in the U.S. that are supporting what's going on right now, how many of them would not be supporting it if, like, Trump was president right now? Yeah. Like, how many Democrats would be voting against funding Israel right now? I mean, obviously, you would still have your true blue, Israel defenders who would still be, standing with them. I'm not saying we would see all Democrats, but there would be a decision between some Democrats, a lot more than there are now, whether they care more about supporting Trump, Trump's policies. And I guarantee you we would have more people calling for a ceasefire right now if Trump was in charge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what else can you really say? It's a sad state of affairs in this country. And that's the guy who's going to be fucking running against Donald Trump. This barely alive, was a sundowning man in 2020. The sun has set, and he is a right-wing president. And I mean, you got to vote for 99% Hitler in the upcoming election.
It's crazy. And people could look back, like, and I still obviously agree with these takes because things changed as time went on, which changes my opinion on the guy. But before this all happened, if you look at the Biden presidency thus far, he was slightly better domestically than I think a lot of people thought he would be.
Yeah.
He was running an administration that I would say was even better than the Obama administration, another Democratic administration that was a big old disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe you could say that because Obama expectations were so high that his disappointment hits harder. But the point being, Biden's expectations were on the floor, and he was coming. I thought he was doing quite well for someone I thought so little of.
Yeah.
I can't say that anymore.
Yeah.
He can't say that anymore. In fact, I think he might even be. I don't even think he might. He's worse than if Obama was president right now, because I think Obama would be handling what's happening in Gaza differently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, and arguably the Biden administration has been pretty good on labor. The NLRB during the Biden administration has made some, seismic rulings that the impacts of which are great and have already started to manifest. But I think but I totally agree when it comes to Obama, because, Obama, I think genuinely in his heart of hearts, does not give a shit, about supporting Israel, and was at a time, here in Chicago, spoke about the freedom for Palestinians and Palestinian rights. And I think that maybe it doesn't really matter how much, he genuinely holds that opinion if he didn't necessarily take those actions
Right.
when he was president. Not really, but he definitely wouldn't because he would have allowed this to go on for a period of time, in my opinion, but he would have put the foot down by now, I'm sure. I'm sure he would have said, all right, enough is enough, stop mowing the lawn, we've got to cut this shit out.
Right.
Just for his own, just for his own public image and his own sake.
And there was a time where there was a guy on the national stage who was speaking out for Palestinians in a way I've never seen at the time done on a mainstream platform like he was doing. That guy I'm talking about is Bernie Sanders. I'm not sure what happened to that guy. He seems to have disappeared. I was there backstage for that 2016 debate with Hillary in New York. And I was back there because I was covering it. I was back there watching the screens, like astounded that at a national debate for president for a major party, Democratic Party, which is being aired on the major stations, there was someone speaking, because they had a whole back and forth. I don't know if people remember this. It's engraved in my brain. Mm-hmm. There was a lengthy back and forth between Bernie and Hillary about Israel and Palestine. And I had never heard anyone in the U.S. with that platform speak out for the Palestinians like Bernie did that day. I knew that he wasn't always so great on, foreign policy, and he had spoken out in favor of Israel and, before, but I also knew that he, was someone who also had lines that he drew. And in that debate in 2016, I was like really impressed. I thought, wow. And it meant a lot coming from, the most, the highest ranking, like, Jewish, elected official in the U.S. And he's shown that in the years after, up until now, when all of a sudden he's decided to just not. And I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, it was very brave, literally monumental, because it had never happened before on such a large stage. And it was, never before heard giving a singular shit about the plight of the Palestinian people from a presidential candidate, because for so long it's been, that a third rail. You're not supposed to touch that topic, because then you might lose some of the donations from the people that you need donations from, the PACs you need donations from in order to run a presidential campaign. But it's been severely disappointing. But it's nice that there are other people in Congress who are willing to speak up, and that we don't have to rely on one person, who to be brave. But it is disappointing for someone, I mean, I have my fucking Maybe it's not hanging up anymore. I had the poster from the Bernie rally in LA for a long time framed hanging up. I don't stand politicians. It was a cool poster. But Bernie Sanders was it was a moment that felt like I just won't forget the feeling of the Nevada primary, the feeling of that time when it felt like change might happen and things might get better was something I wanted to memorialize. The feeling is dead and gone. My soul has been crushed and my dreams for the future have been smushed under a giant shoe. But I would like to remember the way it felt for a politician to give a voice, to the voiceless and to raise awareness on issues that are seldom talked about because money interests buries those topics. But yeah, it's so disappointing the way that, and he'll say everything but, right? He's like a Catholic schoolgirl. He'll do everything but call for a ceasefire.
Right. It's ridiculous. Let's what time is it? Oh, wow. We've been, time flies when you're I don't know if having fun is the appropriate
right.
But we've been having a good time. Let's talk about really quick because there's not much to say about it, but I think it's worthy talking about because the incels on the internet were having a wild one this week because they were really upset that this Twitch streamer was apparently how do I explain it? Like, she framed the camera so it looked like she was doing like topless dancing or whatever.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
like implied nudity is the what it was. But like, she was fully dressed. She was wearing a shirt and fully clothed or whatever. And they were really upset that she was doing this to the point where Twitch got involved and suspended her for a short time, I think. I don't know if she's unsuspended, but apparently Twitch has changed their rules to make this sort of implied nudity thing okay. Which, it's... Listen, I get the concerns of a mainstream website having this content because there are young people who use the site.
Mm-hmm.
I think the obvious thing to do is not to ban it or suspend the users who are doing it, but just to like put up one of those, like, you got to be a user 18 and older to view this or something. It's that simple. Like, yeah. That's just, there's nothing wrong with people doing that type of stuff. If there's a way to make it so like kids could still use the platform and not be exposed to it, but like everyone else can go on living their lives.
Right. It's funny because I once had a stream taken down by Twitch because I was wearing a tube top. And which is what the women in these videos are wearing. I wasn't wearing it to imply nudity. I just at a certain point in my stream was like slumped down like this. And like the tube top was below the line of the camera. And they deleted that video for me and gave me a warning.
I mean, clearly that's one of the classic sexy poses when you're slumped in your chair as low as possible. So obviously they knew what you were trying to do, Rayyvana. Don't get it past them.
Right. They caught on to the way I was trying to allure my audience into giving me donations. We all know
that famous scene in Titanic when Rose is slumped down, looking like this. She's like, "Paint me, Jack, like one of your French girls."
I was also wearing like my baggiest sweatpants that at one point I had pulled up over my tube top and I had my arms inside of. So obviously sexy and nudity going on there. So Morg Pie, the Twitch streamer who was suspended and sort of started this new meta on Twitch, the implied nudity meta. She is a sex worker. She's a porn star. And she streams on Twitch as well. But yeah, they're all fully clothed when they're doing it. It's obvious that the implication is supposed to be that they're nude. It's all 18 plus. Their streams, you have to, before you're allowed to watch, you have to say, I'm over the age of 18.
Oh, so they already had that. That was already a thing.
You have to say, like, if there's no ID check or anything, but you have to say, I am over the age of 18 in order to watch those streams. The stream titles all said, 18 plus only. Like every screenshot I see of people outraged about this are, the incels mad about boobs, I guess, are like, oh,
It's
children
actually
are on this.
it's actually what I think more so than anything is that they're angry that they can't also do that and make what they view as easy money.
Mhm.
Because they think it's so easy for women to just go online, show a little skin, and they're rolling in the dough, easy peasy, as easy as can be.
Right.
Like they think and they're angry about it because they would do that if they could.
right.
But then they would also learn that it's not so easy too.
If hanging dong like on stream could make you a lot of money, these guys would all be streaming with their dicks out, I'm sure, if they're not already.
Honestly, if they really want to, there is a lot of money in that. I haven't done it personally, but I hear that the gay porn actually sells more than straight porn. I mean, because it's not all over the internet like straight porn is. You got to actually pay for the membership sites to get that stuff.
Mm. You got to pay for the good stuff.
Yeah.
They can all start streaming in the advertised jerk off pants from Twitter.
Oh, I saw that ad. Jerk off pants. Those are the great Twitter advertisers nowadays, folks. Can you explain for my audience who doesn't know what jerk off pants are? Can you run that down for them?
I want to pull up the ad so I could read it directly because it's just like a scenario that no one has ever experienced. It's so good. So the jerk off pants are, I should not have just searched jerk off on Twitter. That was my mistake. So
I'm assuming the first thing that comes up aren't the pants.
It was not pants. There was no pants in the first thing that came up, and the ad's not even coming up at all, so that's great. But it is a pair of pants with a hole where the crotch is, sort of like the way boxers have like the hole, and they sell the pants in a way that says, "Are you tired of cutting holes in all of your joggers so that you can jerk off?"
It's a problem I have all the time. It's just the holes in all of my pants, all over the place too. I try to, I've tried different things, and they're just holes all over my pants.
It's just so funny to think about someone who's like, God, I want to jerk off, but my pants don't have a hole in them, and I like these pants. I don't want to cut them up. But that's the high quality advertising that you get on Twitter.
I mean, most pajama pants and even some sweatpants have like the hole with like, but you just have like the buttons there or the zipper there too. Like, but there's a hole. It's not like this is the first pants to decide, like to come up with the idea, like, hey, we should put a hole where our crotch is.
It's fucking awesome. All I get on Twitter now is that ad, and then all of the bot ads that are, some kid's toy. I don't know, but back to the Twitch thing. As a Twitch streamer, I've always had people ask, like, well, doesn't it piss you off that so many women use Twitch, like, not to, I don't know, like, play video games or not to talk about topics like politics or things like, or do some sort of talk show, but just to sit in a hot tub? And doesn't it, like, increase misogyny that you experience? Which, my only response to that is to laugh at the idea that anything could increase the misogyny I experience online, especially the idea that other women are the reason I'm getting misogynistic comments online. Like, I get called the titty streamer all the time. I'm wearing fucking I'm wearing a fucking Naruto shirt right now. This t-shirt cut is like the lowest cut shirt I would ever wear. I turn my camera off when I stand up. Nothing I can do or anyone else can do is going to stop the misogyny I experience online. And you're right, so much of it is from guys who are like, if only I was a woman, I would get so much more views, which is like, that's not your issue. The issue is that you're unoriginal, you have nothing insightful to add to the conversation. Maybe you suck at the games you play. I don't know, but you just aren't bringing anything to the fucking table.
The funny thing though is that they think this, but it's not even true. All the top streamers on YouTube and Twitch are all men.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like it's like it takes a while for like the first woman to pop up. And like even she, like the disparity between, I don't know who specifically it is. I remember reading this like last year or the year before, but like the disparity is huge. There's like maybe like 50 male streamers. Maybe that's too much. Maybe there's like 20 or 30 male streamers before like the first woman streamer pops up in like the top lists of most viewed or most followed streamers on Twitch or YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, it's even like in this political commentary game, it's mostly men. Most political commentators, most of the, commentary channels on YouTube, on Twitch are men. And, even left-wing audiences I find are misogynistic to me.
Oh,
I get
the audiences. I don't know if you've ever looked at your audience breakdown, but it is also mostly men who I wish it wasn't. I wish I could do something. But it's just the way it is. I mean, I don't think it's that women aren't interested in these topics. I think they've just been, male spaces for so long that there's a significant number of women who might not feel comfortable being in this live stream, for example, and letting it be known that they're a woman in the live stream.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, people will just say
not like my live stream specifically. By the way, I have the best live stream on the planet. Everyone knows my live stream is the best.
Safe space for women. No, but I mean, like people will, it's like when I used to play a lot of online video games, like a lot of online shooting games, Apex, Legends, stuff like that. Anytime I would turn my mic on, they would get weird. The people I was playing with would instantly get weird. Like it would go from like bro to like show tits or log off, show tits or log off. Like immediately, people even in the TYT audience, I get weird messages from people who are like, talking about, they're not talking about what I have to say, my contributions to the conversation. It's about like the fact that I'm a woman. It's about my appearance, whatever. Anytime I wear makeup, there's always comments that are like, you wear too much makeup. And anytime I don't wear makeup, it's a bunch of comments like, you look so tired. What's wrong today? It's like inescapable. I wish I could shake it off. But the people I will not blame are women who are getting their bag on Twitch by oiling up the top of their boobs, wearing a tube top, and angling their cameras.
Right. It's just, it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. And I will say, I'm glad we had this conversation because now that I know what people classify you as, I can look at what you do and I could say, you know what? I do the same thing she does. I, too, am a titty streamer. Welcome to the club. I'm in it. Here we go.
It's starting a titty streamer union.
Yeah. Hell yeah. And let's also, while we're on this, let's talk about the right going back to, and I saw the quartering, who is someone who I haven't really paid too much attention to over the years because I honestly didn't find him important enough to pay too much attention to. I know a lot of people like ragging on him, but I just think he's not special, I guess. Like there are more popular and I guess better at what they do right-wingers who deserve more of my time, I guess. He's sort of like very low-hanging fruit, but he has brought back the discussion about whether it's appropriate for same-sex couples, specifically gay men, to adopt children. And I always love that. First of all, I always love that the people who care, these young, and by young in the right wing world I mean like under the age of 50, these young right wing men who often care so much about the children and want children and people to just procreate and have children all over the place. And if they don't want to have their child, they should put them up for adoption, no abortions, just children. So many of these right-wing men don't have any fucking kids of their own.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Like at the very least, have a fucking kid so you could speak from experience. I mean, the problem may be that, you can't have a kid because no one wants to have a kid with you. But it's astonishing to me. Like the same thing with Tim Pool, for example, another guy who can't stop talking about the children. When it comes, talk about abortion. Put kids up for adoption. Don't abort. Someone like Tim Pool's doing wonderful in terms of success. Millionaire. Huge home.
Compound. Skate park.
Why hasn't he adopted a kid? Why didn't he adopt a kid? He could adopt an older kid too if he doesn't think he can, raise a small child. I can imagine the older children in who are up for adoption would kill to live in a place with Tim Pool.
Right.
A skate park would be a dream come true, change their life. But no skin in the game there. It's
Not
amazing.
Tim Pool's Neverland Ranch.
Right? Yeah, but I mean, listen, I would not say anything if one of them adopted a child and put their money where their mouth is and raised and took care of a child who was put up for an adoption and gave them a loving home. You wouldn't hear a word out of me. I don't care if they were a single parent. I don't care if they were a same-sex couple. I don't care if they were a traditional family like they love so much. I don't care if they were running a polycule. Put your money where your mouth is.
Right. And it's funny, like, when it comes to the quartering, specifically because Jeremy Hambley, obligatory reminder to everyone that he once shit his pants in a Walmart and then had to abandon the pants in the Walmart bathroom. That being said, Jeremy Hambley is married. He has a wife somehow. She was involved in that Walmart pants shitting story. One time she went to get pizza without him and he got so mad that he peed on the floor of his basement. I don't know, maybe that's putting her off from procreating with him. But he likes to use, he has in the past multiple times in defense of himself in arguments said that he was adopted by gay men and that one of his fathers is a gay black man, none of which ended up being true. But it's funny now to see Jeremy saying things like, I didn't point, for anyone who doesn't know, that's the quartering, it's Jeremy, that he didn't, now he's like, gay men should not adopt kids, aside from me, so that I can win in arguments when people call me homophobic. But Jeremy's original YouTube channel was content he, as an adult, full-grown adult, was making for children. His YouTube channel was him and his wife going to arcades around the Milwaukee metropolitan area and playing claw machines. That was his whole YouTube channel. It was specifically aimed towards children.
Is that why he's called the quartering?
I have no idea.
Because you put the quarters in the machine? I don't know.
Maybe. But it's just funny. Now he's like, oh, why are gay people, drag queens, so obsessed with children? They want to, perform for children. Well, Jeremy, that's how you started your career too. You also wanted to play claw machines for children. Should we be making the same sort of insinuations about you, childless Jeremy Hambley? I don't think you would appreciate it if we did.
It's unbelievable. They just can't. They can't help no, you can't get an abortion, but also your kids can't be adopted by a couple that wants them. It's unbelievable. Right. It's unbelievable. It just can't. They just want people to be miserable. They want people to be miserable. There's no other way around it. Like, that's what they want. They want the world to be miserable, just so they get their way. But like, because they're miserable too, I guess. I mean, I don't know what else to. What kind of, like, I don't know what possesses a person to like do that. But
and it's fascinating, like, having watched Dave Rubin have what should have been the happiest moment of his life. Him and his husband. They were going to have their kids. They're announcing that they're having their children. And his boss is like, yeah, but that kind of makes you a pedophile and a baby snatcher. And the entire audience for Dave Rubin is like, yeah, and we're disgusted by this. And you're a sick individual who's stealing babies out of mothers' wombs. And it's like, this is the audience you've curated for yourself, which is why I, as a member of the LGBTQ community, give no grace to gay people who are willing to sell themselves out for a quick buck in that way. But it's like, these are your bedfellows now. These are your peers in right-wing media, are people who will call you, no holds barred, a pedophile for wanting to raise children, for bringing children into the world. One of apparently their stated values as conservatives is family, but not for gay people, not for trans people, and not for not even for straight people, because they're against adoption in so many cases. Today, right-wing Twitter was, all up in a tizzy about the existence of places where people can surrender their babies to go up for adoption, like sites that they have at hospitals. They were like, this is despicable. Just man up and raise your children, which is like, don't you always tell people who say they want to have an abortion that they can just surrender their child for adoption? And now you see someone doing that and you're like, no, this is gross. We can't do that. You just got to be forced to have a child, even if you're not ready.
Right. And also, again, going back to how many of these people saying that don't even have kids of their own, who don't even have the ability to say from their own experience, or even know what it takes to raise a child. Something that I am experienced in twice.
But it's not Tim Pool's fault that he's childless. According to him, it's everyone else's.
That's one of the funniest moments I think I've ever seen.
No self-awareness.
Because of everybody else. That's up there with when Emma Vigeland got him to basically back off the conversation they were having about Ukraine and Russia, I think it was, because she asked him about if he agrees with that same dynamic when it comes to Israel and Palestine, and he was like, well, that's something different. That's completely
right. It was awesome. He was like, I don't know anything about that, and now he's like the expert on Israel Palestine.
It is. I will say it is stunning to bring this completely full circle here. It is stunning to see how, as these past 2 months, that has been like literally the story in politics. Like everyone has been covering it, and his show is like, aside from like maybe an episode here or there, or not even a full episode though, but like a segment in a episode here or there, they've like completely ignored. They've completely not wanted to cover it because he's in a situation where his audience has him backed in a spot where he can't pick a side.
Right.
Because he'll lose his audience if he picks the side that he actually wants to.
Yeah. I mean, he's got, anti-Semites to the left of him, Zionists to the right. He's stuck in the middle with Tim Pool.
Right. All right. Well, Rayyvana, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Please let everybody know where they could find you.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. This was a lot more fun than lying in the dark rewatching One Piece, which was my other plans for the evening. Everyone can follow me on Twitter, RayyvanaTTV. You can check out my streams on Twitch, twitch.tv/Rayyvana. You can see me hosting the Young Turks on any given day. Happens to be tomorrow that I am 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you can see my videos for Rebel HQ on YouTube and on Facebook. Please go watch them. Some of my videos did like shit today and they were really good. They didn't deserve to do shit. So go watch those videos. Otherwise, you can check out my podcast if you ever need a break from politics. It's called Taking the L. It's a good time. We answer all of the hard-hitting "Am I the asshole?" questions that we find on Reddit. And we me and my best friend break down how gay our TikTok algorithm is. So super fun things like that. That's on Apple Podcast and on Spotify.
There we go. And by the way, like, what a perfect Thursday lineup. You could watch The Majority Report with myself. Then jump over. We could take a break for an hour or two, a few hours, whatever it is. Jump over to watch Rayyvana on TYT. Back to my channel for Leftist Mafia. And then back to Rayyvana for her show with Dan from the internet.
Fantastic. Power Report.
Power Report. There we go. What a perfect... I've already told you guys what you're doing tomorrow. Just all Matt Binder and Rayyvana all day. That's what you got.
What else
do you
need?
have no choice, right? All right, Rayyvana, have a great night. Are you going to watch One Piece now?
Oh, yes, absolutely I am.
Right, well, enjoy. Take care.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Bye. All right, folks. Bloop, bloop. Let's go to the second half of the show. Let's go to that second half of the show where I will take your calls. And, I'll take a few calls, read a few super chats. Let's do that. But first, folks, to support this show, go to patreon.com/MattBinder to become a monthly paying subscriber. You could also support this show by oh, actually, let me shout out the Patreon, the new patrons. We had a few new patrons. Bloop bloop bloop. Just a few, but greatly appreciated as always. Marliana V, Jenny K, and Eric C, thank you so much for becoming patrons. Really appreciate the support. Can't do it without you. You can also support this show by going to youtube.com/MattBinder, subscribing to the channel. You can also drop a super chat. I'll read the super chat. It's also a good way to give a one-time sort of tip to me. Monetary tip, I should say. You could also become a member on YouTube, like a paying member on YouTube if you want those emotes. What else? Go to twitch.tv/MattBinder and follow me there as well. Also, you should connect your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account if you haven't already, because you get a free Twitch Prime subscription every month. That's a free subscription to your favorite Twitch creator every month. And yes, Amazon will pay that creator for your free Twitch subscription. So don't let it go to waste. I mean, it's a few bucks, but it's a few bucks you're just letting Amazon keep when you could just be giving it to your favorite creator. Go do that at twitch.tv/MattBinder. What else can you do? Let me think. What else? Follow me online, Matt Binder, at Matt Binder, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, you know the drill. I am aiming right now to launch my newsletter on Friday. I don't want to mention the name yet because I want all the I want it all to come out at once. But I will say that I will be pulling the people who subscribed to my old newsletter that I haven't done in like years, and moving those emails over. So if you've previously subscribed to me, or if you've previously subscribed to the Patreon, I'll be porting those emails over as well. Patreon will still exist. It's a separate thing, but I'm going to make sure that those people get my newsletter as well. If you want to subscribe to the new newsletter, you could wait till it launches, or you can go to my old newsletter, which is misinfo.com, MISINFO, and subscribe there, and I'll port you over. What else was I going to say? Yeah. Let's see, what else? Let's go to the second half of the show. You could call in, open up Skype, search Doomed Live, and call in. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get that going. Let's get that going. All right. Give me a quick break to refill my drink, and I'll take some phone calls, read some super chats, and then we will be back at it. Oh, doomedcast.com for the podcast version of the show. If you are watching live, if you are a Patreon subscriber, don't change anything. Nothing's changing for you. You're in. You're watching this live stream. You're not going to get cut off. If you listen to the freebie podcast version of the show, that's at doomcast.com or at Apple Podcasts or the Google Podcasts store or Spotify. If you listen there, this is where the show ends for you. And this is where I say to you guys, I'll see you all next time on Doomed.
Ecological collapse, corporate fascism, corporate journalism, police brutality, voter suppression, austerity economics, educate the masses, rampant homophobia,
What's up, Matt?
Hey,
You from Jamaica?
Dave from Jamaica. How are you doing, my friend? What are we going to talk about today?
I don't think you are exactly what you claim you are. I would say you're a conservative. What makes you a liberal? I'm pro-Green New Deal. Are you? Yes, really? Absolutely. No, I have watched the show. I've seen you completely come out and get really mad at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for some of the things in the Green New Deal.
You mean like free college for black people?
All right, we're back. Let's do it. Let's do this. Oh, we got our first callers coming in right now. Let's take this call. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Matthew. This is America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani.
Oh my God, it's Rudy Giuliani. Rudy, how you doing?
Man, I was hoping that you would allow me to express my utter disgust with what's going on with this trial. I'm totally innocent of everything that they're saying I'm guilty of.
I have not been paying attention to your trial at all, Rudy. I'm sorry.
Well, maybe I should just quit this call and call somebody else. Maybe and get a new lawyer. I'll call back. I'll find somebody else to call back in his.
I need to catch up on this. I forgot you were even. I mean, I know there was a trial, but I forgot.
Of course, it was a trial. It was a hackneyed trial. It was a hit job. It was a total mess.
This is the trial about the election worker in Georgia, right? Who was defamed and harassed.
The known vote stealers, they're known vote hustlers across all of Full-On County. They're known. Right. I mean, you just ask somebody about Ruby Freeman, and they say, "Oh, that vote hustler." Plus, all you have to do is look at these two people. Look at them. You know that they're vote hustlers. There's a certain something about them.
Rudy.
I don't know.
Rudy, should you be calling me and saying this stuff while the trial is currently going on?
My lawyer advises me not to call. But I read your articles on Munchables, and I really enjoy them. And I think that you might be able to get the data that was on the USB drive that they were transferring to flip the votes for Biden.
Oh, can you get me Mike Lindell's contact? I'll be happy to do it for a fee. I remember he was paying for this.
Well, that's right, and I would be able to pay for it, except my lawyer tells me I wouldn't be able to afford a new car currently. So regardless of whether I have to pay $43 million, which is totally ridiculous because they're known vote hustlers. Hustlers, Matt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow in the footsteps of everyone's favorite president, and actually the real president who's in office right now, Mr. Trump. And we're offering Rudy Giuliani collectible cards.
Rudy Giuliani collectible cards.
You can see Rudy Giuliani holding the Twin Towers, one in each arm, supporting New York before the terrible events of 9/11. Do you remember 9/11?
Rudy, I do. Boy, oh boy, though, you really love to use it whenever you can, though.
Also, you'll get a beautifully drawn AI, I think, of me in a fire suit, rescuing someone off a ladder from 9/11 on 9/11.
Rudy, I don't even think you know what you're doing.
You can go to getrudycards.com right now and get the whole set because I need the money. Things are really bad around here. I can't even afford my scotch. I love scotch. I really love scotch. Things are getting really bad around here, so I hope you can send some of your listeners to Rudy, what did I say? Get rudycards.com right now.
Okay, Rudy, I'll pass that on to. I mean, you're telling them right now if anyone's interested in Rudy Giuliani cards, right? Is that what you said? Cards?
Cards. Yes, cards.
Like CARDS?
Of course. What do you, don't you speak English? Where are you from, Binder?
Well, Rudy Giuliani calling me Binder. Now I know he means business.
Of course I mean business. Things are really rough around here. That's why I have to go out and continue the lie. I have to continue the lie or the truth, because the truth isn't the truth.
Oh, Rudy, just let something slip?
The truth isn't the truth, Matt. You know that. More than anyone, I should think.
All right. The truth isn't the truth. So what? Wait. So what are you?
Hold on. I'm sorry. I have to go. I'm getting a call from Mike Lindell. He sent me a text message. He has a brand new plan to overturn the 2020 election, and I'm sure it's going to be something amazing, and it'll get me out of this court case too. So thank you so much, Matt. You have a wonderful evening and a wonderful holiday, and you're already having a wonderful holiday. Perhaps I don't know what you celebrate, but whatever. Have a wonderful holiday to you and all your viewers. And please go to GetRudyCards.com. Thank you so much from America's Mayor.
Thank you, Rudy. Have a great night, Mr. Giuliani. Oh boy. All right. Let's go back to the phones. Let's see. We got a few calls coming in right now. Let's see. Hey, what's your? Oh, I missed that one. I just answered it, and we lost them. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from? If the other person called back in, I'll take your call. I don't know what happened there, but hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Forrest from California.
Hey, Forrest, how you doing? What would you have to talk about?
I'm just so frustrated that the whole premise of Biden's candidacy, the only thing he's running on so far has been just I'm not Trump. Mm-hmm. But it's just so frustrating because with the Palestine-Israel thing, now it's he's running as I'm better than Trump, but I'm also pro-genocide. Mm. Which, I mean, obviously not everyone's going to see it that way, but enough people are going to be well, that's kind of problematic, you know?
Right. No, yeah.
If your only argument is moral superiority, being pro-genocide is kind of a problem.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, what's really frustrating is he could at the very least have a line that he says Israel can't cross. He won't even give that. We've seen presidents do that before at the very least. Mm-hmm. Like Rayyvana was saying, he has done that before with Israel.
Yeah. I think I don't think he's really there. I don't think he's really running things at this point. I honestly think a lot of what his presidency has been done by staffers, not necessarily needing his input, just because I don't think he's cognitively fully on top of things, you know?
Yeah.
I don't have any.
He
obviously I don't know, but
we already see it where he doesn't articulate all the time. I mean, I don't think it's to the point where what the right does, where he's just just completely incapacitated or anything like that. But he's an older man, and a lot of people that age do have issues, and I think he's going through some of that at the very least. I mean, again, not to the extent that the right pushes it, but you can tell when he's just reading off a teleprompter. And he gets it completely wrong, not a misspoken word or whatever, but he was completely getting it wrong. It's because he does he even feel that way? Because if you agree with the sentiment, you might misspeak and say a word wrong, but you're not completely getting across something different accidentally. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you would at least agree with the basic premise of what you're saying. And I'm not saying he doesn't, but a lot of times it doesn't come off he's reading words that he would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. I just wonder how much of like what's going on in the White House is like a Weekend at Bernie's Dianne Feinstein kind of situation, where maybe they're just like wheeling him out to give a speech off of a teleprompter, and
Right.
then
I mean, I don't think it's that. Like I said, I don't think it's that. I think he obviously is taking a part in things. He's not
yeah,
like she was she was incapacitated
yeah, for sure.
mentally to be. I don't think he's there.
Hmm.
I think I don't think they are pushing things through him that he wouldn't agree with. I'm just saying like he's not, formulating the talking points, which, presidents have that done for them too, but
Hmm.
for him it's very obvious because he's not very good at reading the teleprompter.
Yeah, for sure. And also, my other thing is just that I'm equally frustrated that no one at the upper echelons is doing anything to fix the situation, like trying to get a different candidate in or
Oh, it's never gonna happen. There's never if you are if you are the sitting president, if you
Mhm.
are the incumbent, there's not going to be a challenge. It's just how it is in this
Yeah,
country.
I
I
definitely
don't. Yeah.
I get that. I'm just you would think there would be somebody looking at the situation and being like, we should maybe do something, like this is not a normal situation that should abide by normal like rules of like the club or whatever, because Trump is just openly saying like, yeah, I'm just going to be a dictator and I'm going to suspend like certain rights or whatever, and there are people in the halls of power who actually kind of care about that because they might recognize like well, I guess a lot of people are entitled and oblivious to that kind of threat, but still it's just frustrating that
Yeah.
there's nobody like guiding the ship,
Yeah. I hear you. It is frustrating because it doesn't seem like things are getting across to him. Um, like
He's not even reacting to like self-preservation needs.
right, and it's a slap in the face to people who are depending on him to not let Republicans into the White House, obviously, and give them, the control over the government. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is a slap into the face to those people who will most be hurt by that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And it shows he doesn't seem to care about them as much as he does care about his buddy Netanyahu. I mean,
Yeah.
it's frustrating as can be, absolutely.
And it's we should have kind of seen it coming probably because of the way he ran his campaign the first time around. Like I don't know how deep you dug into that when it was happening, but like if you do, like there have been people who do deep dives into it and just found like he had no ground game. He was just kind of running off of name recognition and momentum,
Oh,
and
right,
just
right,
kind of like slid into the White House somehow.
right. No, I mean it is. He's an establishment Democrat who was formerly the vice president of the United States. He knew that the Democratic Party would get behind him if things lined up in his favor, and that's what happened. Things lined up in his favor, and he just had to sit back and see how basically the other candidates were going to do. He had to sit back and see that Pete Buttigieg wasn't going to win over, black Democrats. He had to sit back and see that Elizabeth Warren wasn't going to, basically be the candidate for progressives. He just had to see that there were little, things lined up in his favor, I guess is the best way I could put it. And
Yeah.
that's just what happened. You often see that. But the thing is that when that happens, it's because they tell their base, who depend on them, obviously, for Republicans not to win. They tell their base that, like, you know, we know what's best in terms of who can do that, who can give you what you want, which again is Republicans not winning.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell their base the truth in 2016. They were right in 2020 that Biden won. I'm not saying they were right that someone else couldn't also win, but they were right that Biden won. And it's concerning that they're so sure that he's going to win again in 2024 when I don't think it is a sure thing. And I'm someone who felt like it was a sure thing a few months ago.
Yeah. I was pretty sure that at some point, like the campaign would come online. Like maybe he just wasn't campaigning yet. And at some point the campaign was going to come online and they were going to start making actual points and actual like policy positions and stuff like that. But like that hasn't happened so far. So the only thing we're seeing is like all of the negative coverage of Biden. And
Right.
I think that's a really big.
I mean, Biden won due to a huge part of Trump fucking up the COVID response. Like again, things just lined up in Biden's favor incredibly, but that's not going to happen in 2024. Things aren't going to line up in his favor. All the different candidates, which there are basically none. I mean, yes, there are a few people running, but they don't have some like large base behind them, like there was in when there was a competitive primary in 2020, and you had centrists and even Bernie Sanders eventually. Everyone lining up behind him and bringing the majority of their base to line up behind Biden. And then in addition, you had Trump as president failing to deal with the situation falling before Americans at that moment, which was the COVID pandemic at that time. And things just worked out so perfectly for Biden. He literally could not have had a better sort of series of events happen for him. That is, again, like not happening in 2024. It's just unless some insane thing happens in 2024, and God willing, nothing happens like that. Things aren't going to line up for him in 2024.
No, they're not. And the problem I'm seeing is that he's not establishing a narrative. He's not even trying to establish a narrative. He's just like being the victim of a narrative. And the problem is that established narratives are very hard to overcome. So if we go into 2024 and the established narrative is, look how bad Biden's fucked up, look how old he is, look how low his poll numbers are, that becomes a self-reinforcing problem for his campaign.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do. I mean, like I said, it's not too late. I don't want anyone to think it's too late. I'm not saying you have to vote for him but it's not too late for him to change course, and in turn it would convince people to vote for him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I want him to do the right thing, not because I care about him, but because I care about the people who are facing the fallout from his decisions in Gaza, and the people on the border here in the U.S., immigrants coming into the country, and of course any sort of marginalized group who would be hurt more so by a Trump administration. But I mean, there's only so much we can do for a guy who's doing everything to get people not to vote for him.
Yeah. I agree.
Like that's what I'm so tired of. Like
Mm-hmm.
these arguments from like liberals and Democrats like online who are like, it's not his job. Like, no, but it is. It gets to a point where it is his job.
Literally his only job.
They're still arguing from the point of like their view of like angry leftists who just refuse to vote for Biden no matter what he does or whatever. And that was always like obviously a bullshit like cop out. But like at the same time, like, yeah, those people do exist. So like they're basically extrapolating a like subgroup of people and like acting like that's what everyone in that on the left is, which is obviously not true, but at least there's some basis in reality there, I guess. Like, you know, the door rights, the anti-squad people, they're not going to vote for Biden no matter what he does. Fine. Fuck them. I say the same thing. Those people aren't going to, who cares? If that's your position to just say fuck them, didn't say that. Who cares? That you're not going to get them to vote for Biden. Okay. But that's not what we're seeing this time around. We're seeing people who have legitimate grievances, and not saying those other groups don't, but these legitimate grievances aren't we need you to pass policy that's not going to pass Congress right now. No, their grievances are literally Biden can directly do something to change things and he's not doing it. And I think that's a fair grievance to have. I mean, can Biden be more supportive of Medicare for all, for example? Of course, he's not supportive of it all, but I do wish he was supportive of Medicare for all, but he also can't just say, we're going to get it passed. Can't happen. Republicans are the majority in the House. But he can say, BB, enough of this. And he's choosing not to do that. So, and how do you convince someone who lost 20 of their family members in Gaza that they should just suck it up and vote for Joe Biden? You can't. I'm sorry. You're going to say, oh, what if they get Trump? What if they get Trump? What could possibly be worse than losing their entire family who lives in Gaza? Whatever Trump's going to do, he can't do any more to them. Even if what he does is worse. It doesn't matter. It's already been done. The worst has already been done.
And even on like his signature like dubs, so to speak, like he fucked up the student loan thing forgiveness so bad because he used the most convoluted, nonsensical way to go about it, and then it got struck down in the court, and then he said he was gonna like do it the other way, the real way that he was supposed to do it in the first place, and then he never did. So even like that was his one like big dub other than the labor stuff, and even that he's not doing. Like he fucked that up too so bad.
Right. It's just a bunch of self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, it's at this point, unless there's a turnaround, it is worse self-infliction than actually Hillary Clinton 2016. Honestly. Because he is in the position of power to actually do things to get people to vote for him. Like he can actually make changes that will happen and get people to vote for him, and he's not doing it. He's not doing it. So it is a worse self-infliction than Hillary's failed 2016 campaign.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's kind of all I had to say, I think.
No, it was a great call. I'm so glad you called and spurred this conversation because it was fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Have a great night, Forrest. Always a pleasure.
Hey, you too. You too.
All right, let's go back to the phones. Here we go. You just called in before. Let me pick up your call again. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, hey!
Hey, can I pull you up on the feed?
What's that?
Can I pull your video up on the feed?
You can always pull me up on the feed.
All right, you're up. Hey, Jenna, how you doing?
Doing good. Actually, I'm doing very, very well. How are you, Bender?
I'm doing good. What did we talk about?
Well, I got a lot of fun, exciting updates, apparently, like I always seem to have.
Oh, cool.
And
well, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think I told you that I am doing that profile piece in the San Francisco Examiner.
Oh, right. Yes, you did.
Yeah, so we finished interviewing last week.
Very
so
cool.
I'm really excited. Because I think I told you I'm doing it on Trans Joy.
Right. I think I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, and it's something that I'm really excited about because the media never gives us the best representation. Yeah, we deal with a lot of struggle and a lot of pain, but I've been very lucky this year, and I'm kind of ending it on a high note, and it's just crazy that it's just like this opportunity is happening as like my year is ending, And so I'm just really excited to get that piece out there. It's not any guarantees. She also told me she's going to be pitching it to Out Magazine. So that'd be
nice.
insane.
Right.
It's so cool. Yeah.
Very
So,
cool.
very cool. I'm also working now with it's this group they're called Stop Moms for Liberty. They're starting to get some steam, and I'm going to be doing like basically some YouTube video talks with them about my transition and about how I try to bridge the gap with the Christian community. And so I'm really excited about that. They've been able to do a lot to earlier, I think it was like last month, when a lot of the Moms for Liberties candidates were kicked out of office.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They sorry, keep going.
No, go ahead. No, please go ahead. You're right though. That's what happened. Yep.
Yeah, they had a pretty good they had a pretty big deal to do with it. And so
Right.
I was recruited through our local Stop Moms for Liberty chapter.
Oh,
and
good.
so lots and lots of really cool things happening. And
Well, congratulations on every one of those things.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And it's like you're always one of the first ones I think of.
Oh, no. I appreciate that. That's
No,
very
of
very
course.
kind. That's very kind.
You, out of all the leftists, you are the biggest one that reaches out to the people, and not the others don't. It's just that you just do a really good job at it.
I appreciate that. I wish more people held your view. It would be fantastic for me. But no, I really do appreciate it. I think the little group we got going here, the couple hundreds that show up every time I do a stream, is fantastic. I appreciate the support and the viewership every single time you guys tune in.
Well, you seriously, you really are killing it, and I'm glad that you appreciate it because you deserve it. And what I like the most about you is just that you're punk rock, and you come from that punk rock ethics mindset. And so even though I'm more metal than I am punk rock, we're very kindred spirits.
True.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah. It used to be a lot worse in the 80s and 90s. It's a lot better now. But I know that I tweeted you. I got to plug my interview on the Majority Report, which was really cool.
That's awesome.
And he put it in the liner notes, I was really stoked about that as well. I really hope at least one of them can get to see it.
Yeah, I mean that's all. Like I always look at it like that. Like that's the punk rock way of doing things, right? You play that show in front of a crowd and give it your all, whether it's 1,000 people watching you at a big show at a club, or whether it's 5 people watching you in a church basement.
It really is. You have the same mindset that you try to be as authentic as you can, being an activist. That's the thing that I'm always most worried about is, am I going to come across as authentic? Because once you lose that, it's just no one's ever going to trust you. Activism, advocacy, it's all about authenticity.
Right.
And yeah. So it's really crazy to think that I've been able to continue to. I mean, I put that interview back out in June, and now it's just it's almost 1,600 views now, and it's just continuing to just pick up steam, and I'm really excited about it. One final thing I'll leave with you. This is a very small, petty thing that happened today that I loved. I made some tweet calling out Caitlyn Jenner, and she retweeted it and tried to attack me. It was really fun.
Nice. What was it?
Yeah. It's going gangbusters. I'll send it to you on Twitter so you can see it. It's been great. It's just been a fun day. So I'm oh, and of course, oh my God. I haven't been able to narrow it down completely yet, but Kaiser called me yesterday, and it's looking like between mid and end of January, I'll be able to schedule my surgery.
Well, good luck. I hope everything goes well.
Thank you. Yes. So I just, things are really positive, and 2024 is looking very, very good for me. And so I just hope that I can continue to be able to get my message out there, because I really do believe that, I'm trying as hard as I can to represent us the best that we can, and get normies to just give a fuck about us. And so I just feel like I have a lot of momentum, and you've been a big help. You were like the first out of all the online left people that saw my interview, and you were super stoked on it. And I just, sorry if I'm just rambling.
I feel free to just ramble all you want.
Well, thank you very much. I guess it's just like I'm getting so close to the end of the year, and it's just like I'm ending it with a bang, and I've so many things I've been thinking about, but
yeah,
almost all positive.
People get like what's what I'm looking for? They get when you look back at there's a word for it. I can't think right now. Reminiscing maybe a little.
Yeah.
You're reminiscent. That's the exact one I'm looking for. People get a little reminiscent around this time of the year. I'm usually not a fan of end of the year. I don't like the whole like look back at what you did. I love when we just get back. I love when we just move forward to January, and then we're just back in the moment of just going through every day as it comes. I don't like the end of the year lists and best ofs and things like that, but I know people do. So it is what it is.
Looking like a true cynical punk rocker, am I right?
I guess that might be part of it. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe that is part of it. But
right, fuck having fun and being sentimental. Everything sucks.
Yeah. No, I'm not even saying that either. I'm just not a
no.
Yeah, it's not a look back and yeah. But thanks. No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no. No, I was gonna say you. All jokes aside, you're one of the more positive and fun-loving punks out there, and that's what I also love.
I appreciate it. Is Vosh in the chat here? Hey Vosh, how you doing? Yeah, Vosh seems to be in the chat. How you doing, Vosh? What's up, man?
Tell Vosh, I actually was chatting with him a while back, and he said he was going to watch my interview. So, yeah. There
you go.
I like Vosh too. I like a lot of his approaches on a lot of things. I don't like that he used the R slur, but
Hey,
yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, and have a
absolutely. Yeah.
Have a great night. If I don't talk to you before 2024, have a great rest of your year, and I hope it continues to go great.
Me too, and I hope so too, because I'll have more positive updates for you.
There we go. Thanks so much. Take care.
All right, bye, Bender. Bye. Good to see you.
All right, let's go to the next call. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from? You are on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You might have to check your audio settings. Let me hang up on you while you figure this out. I will pick up your call next. I'm going to take this next caller while you figure it out. Call back in, okay? Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
It's Hansi, man.
Hey, Hansi, how you doing? Could I pull your video up on the feed?
No, of course you can, man.
Hansi, first of all, I'm so glad to see you this week. After the concerns last week, you had everyone concerned, man. Never do that again. Never do that again. Not cool. Not cool.
It wasn't that. Hold on a second. It wasn't like I was saying that I was gonna like do it on air or something. I was talking about a legal process where like it's available for a reason. So it's not out of whatever. You know what I mean?
All right, you got people. Let's put it this way: you got people nervous, though. You know?
No,
What I
no,
mean?
no. I understand. People are not used to me. This is like every single day that I go through a mental crisis.
But let's if you're feeling in a better mood today, let's actually let's move forward. Let's push forward. What would you talk about today?
Well, first of all, did you hear about Anna and Jake's big fight yesterday?
No, what happened?
Well, I should have sent you the clips because I had them clipped on Twitter. But what happened was they were discussing the plagiarism story from the Harvard thing, and like even though I agree with Cenk on the issue that it's a hatchet job and it's politically motivated, he was like acting overly emotional over it, where he was cutting Anna off.
What do you mean? About what though? Like what was he emotional about?
But meaning that like he was just screaming hatchet job, and he wouldn't let Anna finish the story because Anna was trying to convey that there actually is more concerning plagiarism, and Cenk wouldn't let her finish the story.
No,
right?
that's not even. But she's wrong there too.
No, she is. But it turned into a big time. It turned into a big time argument, man. It was like it was one for the fucking Bucks, man. It carried over until the commercial break, and then out of nowhere she goes on a rant, dude. She normally reads subscriber comments or paid comments. She picked a random comment from the YouTube section because somebody called her a grifter for auditioning for a mainstream media gig. And she goes, that's lazy. Get something else. Be more unique. She was like losing it, bro. It wasn't a good day for Anna Kasparian yesterday, man.
Oh boy. All right. Jeez.
I'll send you the clips. I'll link to in your inbox if that's cool.
Yeah, sure. Do I want to? Is it really worth? Do I want to watch it?
It kind of is because no. It is for the sake that Cenk is going like out of control. He's like, oh, I wonder what else she did. Did she have a party past 10 p.m.? Oh, I bet you she jaywalked. Ooh, he was doing that.
Oh, he's going. Oh, but so Cenk was in the right though, even though he was being a little bit silly and over the top.
And he wouldn't let her get the story out. So
that is pretty funny though.
It was pretty funny. I won't lie. I was gonna mention, last week I went for stand up, right?
Oh, you did? Good. How'd it go?
But no, this one went horrible because what happens is like the Thursday show is like the host has like a late night show where you can either do stand up or you can sit down and improvise with him and kind of shoot the shit, right? So I normally opt for that. I always opt for that. But what happened was it's an inflatable couch and there was no co-host. And every week it's a routine to help me get up because I'm so fat. But when I sat down on the couch,
what are you talking about?
No. When I sat, when I went to sit on the couch, it fell over. So it was like the standard fat guy falling, and then I couldn't recover, and I basically tried to give him I'm like, oh, you gotta make it. I was trying to mock the whole you'll get canceled. So I was trying to go, okay, we need you to get a new canceled gimmick. How are you gonna get yourself canceled so you can become bigger and all that? But it went horribly. But I'll say this: even though it went horribly, I had the most fun because it was a chaotic crowd. Even though there wasn't many people in there, but it was so chaotic, and it was like the first time where I felt kind of alive, even though I didn't do well.
Well, I'm glad you had fun doing it. That's the most important, right? I mean, that's if you're not having a good time, it doesn't really matter how good you are because you're not going to be able to do it for an extended period of time if you're miserable doing it.
No, exactly. No, and the thing that I talk about, what's it called? First, did you see CM Punk and Seth Rollins promo?
I didn't see the whole thing, but I did see clips. I heard it was the highest rated segment in like almost 2 years or something like that.
So I know. Yeah. The thing is, I normally dread WWE promos, other than a few people who can like really compelling promos. But this one was like What?
Punk. He's great on the mic.
Well, no, I was talking about Seth Rollins because Seth Rollins has become a confident guy. Maybe if this were 5 years ago and you told me Seth Rollins and CM Punk would go at it at the microphone, I'd be like, CM Punk is gonna murder him, right? But Seth Rollins has become a really confident fucking character where I think he's like now like a lot better than what people think. I think people assume Punk is gonna bury other people on the microphone, like a Kevin Owens or a Sami Zayn and all that kind of stuff. But I think these guys can keep up with CM Punk in the promo department.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a pretty strong roster they have right now, like really strong. I mean,
No,
the problem with WWE has never really been their roster, at least in the past, like, geez, I want to say, what year is it? In the past
like 10 years.
10, 15 years, maybe. The problem isn't really the roster. It's just what they do with them and the storylines. But I think they have a strong lineup, and if you let them go at it the way they want to do it, I think it's gonna be fine.
Well, Nicole, do you think it's a smart idea to put Punk? Here's the thing. I thought they were going to go to Punk and Seth at the Royal Rumble for the title, but I actually kind of like that he'll be in the Rumble because that's like a way you can get different confrontations in the Rumble. Like, you can have like a Gunther and CM Punk confrontation, Kevin Owens and CM Punk.
Oh, yeah, the right move is, without a doubt, the Rumble. Have him debut in the Rumble. Because you can double dip here and say he debuts in the Rumble, but also get a debut singles match. If he has the singles match first, he's not debuting in the Rumble. It's just another Rumble appearance. Do you know what I mean?
But he might do I think he will do a TV match. You know what I mean? But I
think he's gonna debut at the Rumble. I don't think they're gonna waste it. He'll do house shows. I bet he'll do house shows.
Yeah, but to me, those are canon now. You know what I mean? You might as well just do one on television, I guess. I don't. The thing is, I want to see him. I want to see Dominic cut a because if you remember back in the day when CM Punk was feuding with Rey Mysterio, he embarrassed Rey Mysterio in front of his whole family, and Dominic was a little kid then. So you can play off of that from back in the day. You know what I mean? It is what it is, man. But I didn't want to waste your time with too much wrestling. I know your audience doesn't really like wrestling that much, but I'll say this, man. What's it called? This whole George Santos. By the way, shout out to Rayyvana. I really do enjoy when she's on the show. You know what I mean? It's like when she's in TYT, she's in WWE mode where you don't get to see her full capability. So when she's on the show with you or with Leftist Mafia, it's like I can see her full humor. You know what I mean? Like, I listen to her podcast and stuff. So if Rayyvana's still listening, shout out to Rayyvana. You know, I think she's awesome. But with the George Santos thing, bro, like, that shit depresses me because it's like these characters exist, and it's like everyone knows they're gonna you're forced to cover them, obviously, because with the message they're spreading is like horrible and shit, right? But it's like they find a way to constantly be covered. Now this guy, like, he broke all these laws, and now you're telling people this guy's able to make a lot of fucking money by doing, you know, all these cameos. And I feel like all these people like Jimmy Kimmel and all them who are like, oh, I'm gonna really get him with giving me a good message or something like that. I feel that's also gimmick too, bro. Why you pay? I couldn't pay this guy enough to fucking say something. Why? Because he's gonna say something outlandish. Like, I hate this world we're living in, bro. See, this is why this world depresses me, because everything is sports entertainment.
Right. Yeah.
I guess I blew your mind. I guess
No, you're. I mean, it is at times. Like, it's so ridiculous at times that I mean, that's why I think if you're a wrestling fan, you get it. You get it a little more than people who aren't wrestling fans. Honestly, I do think it's part of the understanding. Because there is overlap. I mean, that's why Trump, if you knew wrestling, you knew Trump, right? I mean, you knew the type of character he was.
That's the Steve Austin. That's the Steve Austin method. Basically, you know, you think that he's Steve Austin fighting against Vince McMahon, but then he's gonna be shaking the hand of the Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 17. You know what I mean? Everyone thinks that, and that's the model that everyone uses, the populist thing. That's why it's ironic, because I call Trump MAGA Steve Austin, and I call CM Punk. I call Tucker Carlson MAGA CM Punk, because they both have the same booking style. You know what I mean? The same. But by the way, did you hear about this 17-year-old lawyer who passed a bar?
No, what?
So some 17-year-old, I guess he's the youngest lawyer who's gonna pass the bar. But I'm just gonna do a discourse prediction right now. I guarantee you he'll like be in a high profile case where we gotta fucking now take in a 17-year-old lawyer in Congress. Or maybe he'll represent Trump in one of his cases, so we have the parody of Trump being represented by a 17-year-old kid, basically. But that's the way I look at discourse now. When someone introduced in a discourse, they're gonna become like he's actually a lawyer, but at the same time, because he's gonna be part of the discourse, he's gonna be more of a sports entertainer. So it's like early 90s WWE where you had like a real job like a dumpster guy or an IRS agent, but you're also a sports entertainer, I guess. Like it's like the new generation mixed a little bit.
Right.
I feel like everything I say, you're like, okay, I need to say it with this guy. This guy's just going off on different tangents.
No, I'm listening and we're talking. What are you talking about?
I don't, but dude, I view everything now, bro, in gimmicks. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you follow celebrity discourse, right? But I look at, like, for example, Usher. He's doing the Rick Rude gimmick where he's serenading different women celebrities and causing rifts with their relationships. You know what I mean? I look at, like, I don't know if you follow hip hop discourse, but you can't get away from a Blueface and Krishan storyline fast enough. It's like everyone is just over the top caricature like now, man. And it's like, dude, I don't know if you follow the Young Thug case, but every day it's like something happened in court case where it prolonged. It's like I have no idea what's going on in this world. All I see is just like this is why I don't want to watch wrestling live anymore. I mean, because the political world and the celebrity world, they're doing pro wrestling better than pro wrestling is.
Right. No, that's. I mean, we were just talking about how the overlap in the two is just like if you get wrestling, you really do understand. It's almost shocking that more wrestling fans aren't into politics, because it's the overlap is ridiculous.
And because does it, like, for example, like, hasn't the pro wrestling element trained you? Like, for example, anyone who hasn't followed pro wrestling, they'll think it's the biggest travesty that Alex Jones got unbanned. But us watching pro wrestling, we've seen enough heels get kicked out of the promotion, and then they get brought back by evil GM, basically. You know what I mean? And that's what Alex Jones, like, you know what I mean? It's like, dude, I expected this a long time ago. It's like when Vader got suspended and Vader beat up Gorilla Monsoon, and then they somehow brought him back, basically. That's what this Alex Jones shit. It's like everything is if you just analyze everything in pro wrestling, you can, like, solve the world's issues. And this is why, like, but the thing is, you mentioned that wrestling fans are not into politics, but the thing is, political fans think they're way above politics, even though they follow for kayfabe shit. So that's what's ironic. If maybe some of these political commentators maybe follow the elements of pro wrestling, like, you better get, like, Mike and, like, Lance to get on board with this wrestling shit, because then maybe they'll figure out how these gimmicks work, basically.
Right. Yeah.
No, that's cool. Bro, I'm sorry for taking too much of your time, bro.
No, why do you always say sorry? This is ridiculous. Why do you always apologize? It's good conversation. It's good conversation.
It's the Canadian of me, you know what I mean? I also, like, you know, if like, I just feel like I go on all these wild tangents, and then sometimes I don't have a flow of stuff, right? So I do gotta apologize, because sometimes I don't know how I come across, you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm boring you or, you know.
You're doing great. You're doing great. I enjoy it.
If I could only memorize this for my act, you know what I mean? I'd be killing, you know, every day. But I cannot memorize this, man. Anyways, thank you for taking my call, Matt. And I'll send you the links to the Jake and Anna argument. All right, man?
All right, yeah, I'll check it out for sure. If it's if it's worthy of if it's really that ridiculous.
It is, man. Trust me, it's really ridiculous. Peace out, bro. Peace out.
All right, take care. Have a great night, Hansi. Always a pleasure. Stop apologizing. All right, folks, I'll take one more call and then we'll call it a night. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from? Hello, you are on the air. What's your name? Where you calling from? Check. I see you now. I see your. I don't hear you though. Check the Skype. Oh, unmute. Hello. in the Skype settings, make sure it's audio and visual settings. In audio and video, make sure your mic is the right microphone. I'll wait a second because I see you. You got that fixed. I'll give you a minute here. I don't hear you yet. Nope, not yet. For some reason, I could see you now, but for some reason, your mic is not being picked up. I still can't hear you. I'm sorry. Listen, let me take one more call, and then I will try you one more time, and we'll see if we can do this. All right? I'm sorry. Check the audio and visual settings for microphone. I'm just not hearing you. All right, let's pick up. Oh, we had 2 other people on the line. They just hung up too. While I wait for someone else to call back, let me just quickly. Oh, here we go. They're already calling back in. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello?
Hi.
Oh, hey, I can hear you. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Nadia Chambers. I'm calling from New York City.
Hey, Nadia, can I put you up on the feed?
Sure.
Okay. What was it to talk about?
I guess I was gonna comment more on 2024, and I mean, I guess from my point of view, it's already lost. So my effort is basically to just get myself out of the country, and otherwise not to be taken alive, because I mean, I think the consequence of the Dems throwing the election, which they basically are doing deliberately, is that we're going to get something like the Latin American dictatorships, and they have histories of what they did with LGBT people, and it wasn't good. So,
right. I mean,
yeah.
I certainly get the concerns. I mean, it's we saw people who were mocking the idea of abortion rights going anywhere in this country. 8 years ago, when in the lead up to Donald Trump, and now look where we are. Where there's no more Roe v. Wade. So any concern is certainly valid. I don't think maybe we should give it up quite yet. There's still 11 months to go. Less than that, 10 months to go. Things can change. I'm not hopeful that they're going to change for sure, but it's certainly a possibility. I would put it at a 50-50 chance right now, and we won't really know, I guess, for sure until we get closer to the election.
Well, I mean, it's pretty clear that there's not really going to be any kind of real responsiveness to popular will, barring like an outright revolution that succeeds, as opposed to just one that gets crushed. That's.
I mean, I think when we're talking about electoral politics, especially when we're talking about a general election, it's hard to tell sometimes what's going to happen this far out, because right now, who's paying attention to we've been talking about the elections, people who are sort of in our political bubble. I'm not even saying like other leftists, just people who are generally in the political discourse on a daily basis, people who are very into politics, who work in politics, who take part in online conversation around politics, which is not the vast majority of people. Like this is a niche, just like people who enjoy playing video games, or people who enjoy it's again, I'm not saying it's an entertainment, it's very different, but it is like a thing you have to be into when we're not in a general election, presidential election year. As the election gets closer, there will be those people who are generally not paying attention to our politics year round, who get involved, who update themselves, and they obviously will make the difference in terms of if who wins and who loses, because they are the vast majority. So I do think it's hard to be so sure at this point. I'm not saying it's not trending in a bad way. I'm just saying we're too far out to really know yet, I think.
I don't think it's that hard to be sure because we know what they're responding to. We know the climate's going vertical. We know the tide oil is basically collapsing. We know that there's basically mass extinction getting to a point of literally affecting humans as well with the I guess endocrine disruptors and who knows what else affecting human fertility, etc., and health, other health issues like thyroid stuff. So there's, given that kind of confluence of massive crises, they're basically just taking a military option, and they're going to use repression domestically to keep us in line as they send gear things up for war. So that's not really a place I want to be as far as either the domestic repression or to back their warmongering, etc. So.
Well, I don't think we're close to that quite yet. I mean, again, obviously, if another administration is in office, and who knows what could happen down the line, but as of right now, I don't think we are there.
I would still advise people to think the unthinkable, because the unthinkable is pretty much
sure. No, absolutely. If especially if you are concerned about this. Obviously, definitely think of what you should do for yourself and your family. A backup plan or a plan B or whatever you want to call it. Certainly, not telling anyone not to do that if that's what makes them feel, if they feel like they need to, for sure. But yeah, thanks for the call. Was there anything else?
I guess. A year is not a lot of lead time for making international moves, so make them now.
Right. Thanks so much for the call. Really appreciate it, Nadia. Feel free to call back in anytime.
Thanks again. Have a good night.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Let's take this caller too. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, and hey there. My name is Ziv, and I'm calling from Northern Ontario. You might remember me from last week,
I do. Can I pull you up on the feed?
By all means, please do.
Cool. How you doing, Ziv? What's up?
I'm doing well. Had a good week, horse-drawn sleigh rides. We just brought in our Christmas tree today. I like to call it a solstice tree. I'd rather not celebrate capitalist holidays, but here we are anyway. We've got a beautiful green spruce tree freshly harvested from our land on the
Yeah, I enjoy the holidays, no matter what whatever you want to call it. I just enjoy. There is that something in the air that just makes you feel like you gotta. Yeah. So honestly, I don't even look at it as like a religious thing.
Yeah. I'm anti-religious.
I mean, the spirit of Santa Claus is giving, right? I mean, that's what it is.
Right.
It's not. It's not about a saint or a person. It's just the spirit, and it just so happens that culturally we've embodied that spirit into an individual with a big white beard and a red cap. That's pretty much it, though. Yeah.
Well, and that element of it, the whole big white beard and a red cap, does come specifically from Coca-Cola's advertising program from back in the early.
Well, it does also a little bit come from. It is inspired. There is a better inspiration for it.
There is Kris Kringle in history,
and Saint Nicholas. Yes, but yes, the modern, I guess, does come from that. But listen, I'm a big fan of Santa. I like Santa much more than any of those other figures.
Interesting. I mean, much better than many others. I would agree with you there. And I do agree with the idea being that it is supposed to be, let's bring our focus back to the idea of gifting. Because I think, especially with kids, I know with my own kids, the difficulty is the focus is on, I'm going to get stuff. I want to get stuff. I want to get stuff. I'm going to get stuff, right? And it's that trying to it's at least an effort to try and reverse it to be like, no, let's focus on the giving, on the giver, and let's celebrate the idea of giving more maybe than the idea of giving.
Right. The reaction from people when you give them a gift. That's what you want to focus on with kids, right? Like, look how happy you thought of this for them and they loved it. Doesn't that feel good to make somebody happy? Right.
Yeah. It's a good segue into the whole, I believe that we have to slow consumption to a near halt in general. And I don't know if that's my anarcho-primitivist past talking or if it's just I'm trying to bring things back to the idea of what is actually realistic right now in terms of lifestyle choices, consumption choices. Now that we're starting to see a more detailed idea from the scientists laid out of what climate change is really going to look like without sea ice in the summer, with the tipping points that we've crossed, these kinds of things, with the methane that's coming up from permafrost and the Atlantic Meridian overturning current slowing to a near halt, already almost done. It's just even going to change things like how we're able to ship things. Globalization is going to kind of draw back a bit. We're not going to have the easy access to the shipping lanes and the stuff from everywhere that we have previously had in the supposedly golden age of fossil fuel consumption and industrialization. And I think that for us, especially, we bring the focus in the holiday season back to not only giving, but making. What can we hand make? What can we handcraft? Because always, when they say it's the intention that counts, I feel like that matters and is communicated so much more with an attempt at something handmade,
Right.
Whenever that
yes. Oh, you just reminded me. I have to respond. Oh my God, I feel so bad. There's someone who's been trying to get me something that they handmade. Someone who listens to this show, and I've completely missed their messages, and you just remind me to look out for them. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yes. Something another streamer friend of mine does is has a PO box set up that's fairly anonymous, so that she can just post it anywhere and not have to post her address publicly, so that people can send her things in the mail. Which is an interesting, I think, I think it'd be I'd love to gift maple syrup, for example. That's something our homestead produces. We make all kinds of fun stuff that is not non-monetary in nature that I'd love to be able to share. So it's always neat to me when there's that kind of avenue to be able to share, which kind of comes back to what the other thing I wanted to call in about to talk about was the idea that I know and I love the other callers and their focus is so intent on these big issues and these huge ideological global problems like the U.S. election, which, we're going to laugh because it sounds like a national issue. But U.S. election, I'm a Canadian. U.S. elections are a global fucking problem. Get it together, guys, because we're out here just raptly paying attention to every friggin' scandal in the U.S. Congress and the Senate and politics in general, because the U.S. has such effect everywhere else in the world on economies, on, geopolitics, etc. So we all have to deal with it too. But at the end of the day, this big picture, while incredibly important, isn't something that we all as individuals have that much participation in. Electoral politics is a once every 4 year, barely participate kind of thing that I think at best is harm reduction at this point. Let's be honest, the project of democracy is pretty much a failure in the West at this point. The interests of the people, generally speaking, aren't well represented by their representatives. And as a result, the largest actions, the biggest things that I see making a difference in people's lives are the direct action, mutual aid networks, small on the ground, what other people might consider it's just a little thing. I just gave a homeless guy some mittens that were old from me, that kind of thing. But it's those kinds of networking, the kinds of material network that we can actually participate in locally, where maybe we help someone find some food, or maybe we help someone, network to find a job or a better apartment, or lend them a tool we have extra of, or whatever it might be. Those things are the things making the real big differences on scale when you actually accumulate them all and put them all together. That's where my hope remains and lies, is in the little things that people can and will do on a daily basis, because I can't have hope in the electoral politics and the system of, maybe hopefully Joe Biden will win. Joe Biden, I'm far enough left to think he's a fascist. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, Trump is a worse fascist. Absolutely fucking true. Would be much worse under Trump. I would, if given the chance, vote for Biden anytime offered the chance to do so. However, that isn't to say that you're still making me choose from two very evil options, and it's all shit. And where the actual like creation of better options comes from isn't getting some third party or some other candidate into this electoral politics system. I don't think that's the way we do it. It's finding that close knit community or group of friends that you can actually do stuff with, even if it's just once a month, maybe taking the trash from a grocery store and turning it into a meal for homeless people. You know, there are so many little things that can make such huge differences in people's lives. Like I've seen, and I've been that homeless person where that extra meal meant that I could continue with a lesson in praxis that allowed me to grow as a leftist or grow an activist movement of occupation or of like, it's incredible. Like I can't say enough how much those little things make the real big difference at the end of the day. And policy is all wonderful to be informed about, but
right.
Yeah.
No, it's a very interesting. I mean, because you like you've mentioned in your previous conversation, you're actually somebody who has taken the action and lives it. You know, you practice what you preach, which we've also discussed that it's not possible for everybody to do, and that you're in a very unique position. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly a number of great points you made. Yeah, I mean, I guess the issue is, though, it always comes down to like, you know, someone needs to be able to be in that position to be able to actually take that step forward to be able to do those things, and it's not always possible, obviously.
It's interesting because I, for example, I bottom lined or was like the one to make sure it happened, a Food Not Bombs program in Southern Ontario in a large city. And I did that for 2.5 years, where every month on like the second week of the month, we would dumpster dive food the night before. And then we would cook up a large meal for 150 to 1,000 people, depending on what night it was. And so it was a lot of fucking cooking. And we insisted on never using disposable dishes. So we had a lot of fucking dishes the night afterwards. But I bottom lined. I made sure that even if there was no other volunteers, even if no one else wanted to do that shit, I committed to doing it. And we need
that's
people
someone
to step
that
up.
is something that you know, again, not anyone can do, because there is certain commitments there that again not everyone can, but that's certainly something that doesn't require the position that we've previously discussed that you brought up last time. You don't need to.
Yeah,
Yes.
you don't need to be the son of the multimillionaires and the family of billionaires to be in a position to be able to help people. And this is like much like
You also don't need to necessarily, I get that's something that you decide to do, and obviously if that's something you want to do, by all means. But you also don't need to dumpster dive and things like that. There's so many things you can do to help people that, frankly, doesn't always require much time or effort or money. Sometimes it just comes from a good place, being somewhere at the right time for someone, or, a whole slew of things of that nature that you could do.
Yeah, I think that like one of the biggest ails of capitalism is the way that it drives us into this, I'm working so hard to try and make ends meet. I don't feel like I have time to do this other stuff, to do these communal efforts, or to take the time even once a month or like 2 days out of the month to be able to tackle doing the dishes and just to feed people, And I think that's where, again, like, like I know people who make, $25,000 and $30,000 a year and are barely making ends meet, and they're living in poverty, and I know people who are making $90,000 and $120,000 a year who are living barely able to make ends meet and who are living in poverty.
Right.
Of a different kind of poverty, maybe,
right.
But they still very much see themselves in poverty, and though they make different consumer choices, they still feel trapped in those choices. They still feel unable to make any other choices, or unable to feel like they could live a different way. And I think that part of like what we can open ourselves up to that might make some big changes too is the idea that maybe I don't need all these comforts. convenience. Maybe I don't need all these things so easily accessible. A lot of like the food ordering to door, a lot of the eating out habits, a lot of the like quick consumption of like quick overturn, presents and goods and kids stuff, my goodness, is really hard to seem to avoid. But when you actually do without it, you don't really miss it. It's not something that's like, oh shit, I wish we had more of that dollar store toy junk. It's like, no, like we go maybe once a month to Value Village and we'll pick up some secondhand stuff, but like we don't need to engage with that as much. Baby going to bed in the background there.
Right. No, I love to hear it. Great call. Appreciate it.
Last, I just want to challenge everyone this time of year on your consumptive habits, whether it's your electricity or what you buy or how you celebrate your holidays. We can do it with less and be happier. I strongly believe that.
There you go. And perfect time of the year. Yeah, if I don't see talk to you again before, happy holidays.
Happy solstice.
Take care.
Yeah. Catch you around, bud. Thanks.
Peace.
Always nice chat.
Great call. All right, let's go to, I don't know if that other person is going to try to call in again. I would love for them to call in, but it's just not, their mic wasn't working, which is disappointing. All right, let me read the super chats and stuff, and then we'll, if they call in, I will take that call. If not, we will have to try it again next time. Not too many super chats. Foresto with a super chat. It's so frustrating to see Biden run on a dual platform of I'm better than Trump and genocide Muslims harder. Our democracy is so screwed. It's yeah. Parker with a super chat. Who do you think CM Punk faces at WrestleMania? Well, I feel like maybe Seth Rollins. I feel like they're gonna go with Cody for the title match. I feel like that's still the direction they're going. And I don't think you should shoehorn Punk in for the WrestleMania. Maybe you do have him headline one of the nights. He could main event one of the nights. But I wouldn't have him in the championship match. I don't like when they just bring someone in and thrust them into a championship storyline, and then they even win that championship. It's sort of pointless. You need to always have that saga that gets them to the championship, and then the saga with the struggle to win the championship. And now, obviously, Punk isn't some newbie. You don't need to have a long drawn out for him, but there's got to be something. And I don't think you have enough time. I mean, unless he wins the Rumble, which again, I don't think you need to do. I mean, you could have him have an amazing showing at the Rumble without him winning it. I guess we'll see though, right? Fizzjizzin over on Twitch says, wait, one of the nights, WrestleMania is multi-day now? Yes, WrestleMania, during the pandemic, they did 2 nights. And now it is 2 nights every year now. Ever since the pandemic. There is, it's now Saturday and Sunday that weekend. It's a whole WrestleMania weekend. Which, one thing that sucks is that the Hall of Fame doesn't get its own night anymore. Hall of Fame is literally on the same episode of SmackDown the Friday night before. They do SmackDown, and then they do the Hall of Fame ceremony after it, which is it looks lame the way they do it now. I liked the fancy dress up affair they used to do, but now yes, WrestleMania is, and the NXT WrestleMania event is Saturday afternoon. So you got SmackDown on Friday, Hall of Fame on Friday, NXT on Saturday afternoon, WrestleMania Night 1 Saturday night, WrestleMania Night 2 Sunday night, Raw the following Monday. Not the Raw literally the night after WrestleMania Part 2. Yeah, they really work those guys, don't they? Let me thank. I didn't realize till. Whoa, we got a bunch of raids this episode. Thank you so much to Peacefire Now, rated with a party. Rated their viewership. The 27 Club rated to. Let me open all these so I could follow them. Big thank yous to all these And then Philbo Schwaggins with the raid too. Thank you all so much over on Twitch. Really appreciate it. And we had Vosh watching in the feed earlier. Really appreciate it. Let's see. And then over on Twitch, let me read who became. Oh, we got Rude Dog 2525 resubscribed with Prime. Subscriber for 13 months. LFG. Let's fucking go is right, Rude Dog. Thank you so much. Over a year subscribing. Really appreciate it. Bill Haverchuck subscribed with Prime. New subscriber. Thanks so much, Bill. Tim Bob RN cheered 82 bits. Thank you so much, Tim Bob. Zoutcast X212 subscribe with Prime. First time subscriber. Thank you so much, Zoutcast X212. Really appreciate the support, everyone. Yeah, so once again, don't forget youtube.com/MattBinder, patreon.com/MattBinder to become a paying monthly subscriber to the stream. The newsletter should launch Friday. That's the plan right now. Be sure to subscribe via the old one, and I'll port it over because I am not unveiling the new one yet. But you go to misinfo.com, misinfo.com, sign up there. I'll port you over to the new one. And then the misinfo one, I'm going to do something else with it. I'll roll something else on that. I'm not getting rid of that. It's a good domain name. I just felt like it didn't fit the newsletter for me to just post whatever. It sort of, made people think I'd be debunking misinformation every newsletter. And I don't want that to be the thing I'm trapped doing, even though I do it a lot. But I also want to be able to write about other stuff too. All right. That's the show. We're getting close to the holidays. There should be a show next week. Probably not going to be Tuesday. It might be Wednesday again. But I'll let you know for sure. And then Christmas time is here. Oh, who should I rate on Twitch? Instead of singing, Charlie Brown. Let me. Who should I rate on Twitch? Let's see. Who should I rate? Who's on right now? Fabulous says it's 1 a.m. and Binder's gonna sing carols. York Whitaker over on Twitch says, no, keep singing, please. Laredo Lasso says, beautiful rendition, Matt. Christmas time is here. Who's on right now? I don't have a good, clean singing voice. I need to be shouting and screaming and giving you my gravelly punk voice. We got Riverboat Jack on? I don't see Riverboat Jack. Why does Riverboat Jack not show up on my thing? I don't understand. That's so weird. I follow them. This has happened before. Is it that so many people are on, it's not showing everybody? Who's Rhizome? Someone Bad Lefty says you need the MR Tim Pool filter. Right. Wait, who's Rhizome? That's someone I've never rated before. I like rating new people too. I like rating my faves, and I like rating new people. Bring me in front of a new audience. What are they watching? What are they talking about? All right, I'll rate Rhizome. That's someone new. It'll get me in front of a new audience. Get my audience in front of him too. If you guys have never seen him before, some of you guys never seen him before, let's do that. So all right, everyone, I will see you all. Have a great week. I will see you all. I'll see you all on Thursday, tomorrow. Majority Report, Leftist Mafia. Have a great night, everyone. Take care. See you all next time on Doomed.